Hello and welcome to the Career Relaunch Summit. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. I'm your host, Diana YK Chan. I'm the founder of My Market Ability. I help ambitious professionals, leaders, and executives to find a meaningful career, differentiate as top talent, to get hired and earn more. So tell me, put in the comment whether you were here live with me earlier in segment 1. Give me like an emoji here. Were you there? And what are you excited about learning this afternoon? We have an amazing lineup of speakers. We're going to kick things off in just about 10 minutes with my friend Austin Belcak. He's going to talk about how to land your dream job without applying online. And then we're going to meet Jonathan Javier, where he's going to talk about breaking into top companies, coming from a non-traditional background and non-target school. And then we're going to talk to Hannah Morgan on it's time to do more to visually showcase your value. And then we're going to take a break and we're going to meet with my friend Betty Kempa to talk about how to build a 6-figure coaching business. And then lastly, we're going to wrap the day with Anna on how to stand out online, on why most job seekers are linked out. So that is the agenda for today's segment. So tell me, what are you excited about learning? Okay. So to kick things off, I thought I would share with you a little bit about my story, because today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit into networking, LinkedIn, personal branding. These are some of my favorite topics. And I thought I would share with you, for those who don't know, a little bit about my career journey and my story as well. So I moved from Hong Kong to Canada all by myself when I was 16. I had a zero network. I didn't know anyone at all. My parents sent me to London, Ontario for a better future, for better education. And at that time, I got 3 part-time jobs. I worked at the Colonel's, I worked at the Gap, and I also worked at a Chinese restaurant as a waitress. And so that's kind of how I got my field in terms of really picking up the language. Like when I came here, I was really shy. I had the culture shock, and that's how I really built part of my confidence and my communication skills and learning English as well. Anyways, fast forward 2 years later, after I got into university, I started my tutoring business. I was really good with math, so I tutored math. I tutored at least 500 students from grade 1 all the way to university level math. So that was my first taste of entrepreneurship, of learning how to teach, coach, pitch my services as well. And at the same time, my parents then 2 years later in university decided to send my siblings over, who were 9 and 12 years younger than me, for me to take care of them as well. So I learned a lot about being responsible, independent, and I guess I'll share with you a little bit of the story so you learn a little bit about myself. But what I do want to share is around the importance of networking. One of the things is a lot of the opportunities I have received working in corporate, with opportunities I had, was through relationship building and networking. So when I was an undergrad, I wanted to become either a wedding planner or motivational speaker. And there weren't those jobs to apply for, right? Back in business school, it was either accounting, consulting, investment banking. And so I had to really figure out what is it that I really want to do. And that's how I got into working at a company in telecommunications, in a new grad program and a leadership development program, because I was really passionate about leadership. So that's how I got in. But I have to tell you, I received so many rejections during that time. And it was really through networking with hiring managers that got me to those opportunities. And even fast forward, 3 years later, I moved in, got my MBA. I also learned at that time, I also applied for tons of jobs, applied to consulting, got rejections from all of them, applied for that. And eventually I got myself back an offer at a consulting company after they rejected me, where I followed up with them. And that's when I learned the importance really about relationship building and networking. So anyhow, fast forward later, I left consulting because it wasn't for me. It wasn't fulfilling. And then I moved into recruitment. I made a big pivot into recruitment, recruiting for a top MBA school, for the MBA Executive MBA program, where my friend from undergrad referred me to this opportunity because she knew I was always passionate about people. Even though I didn't have experience in recruiting, but I was able to pitch my transferable skills, my strengths, and what I'm passionate about there. Year and a half later, fast forward, I got laid off from that opportunity. And that was when it gave me the fire to start up my own business. Okay, I was definitely sad. I went through an emotional roller coaster. But interestingly, after I started my business, within a month, I got a job offer with Google as their first and only recruiter here in Google Canada. And that was referred to me by my friend from MBA school. And I share this story because, the lesson around really building your brand and reputation, right? I had a brand and reputation for helping people, curious about people, and that's how I got these opportunities. Even though similar to an opportunity I got last year as a career advisor at a university, we're also referred by my former colleague as well. So I'm curious to know, to type in the chat room, if you have received any opportunities through referrals. Studies have shown that it takes you're 5 times more likely to get hired through a referral there. Okay, so let's see who is here. We're going to have Austin up soon, but I want to share with you a quick little story, but also I'm going to do some housekeeping here. Okay, so a few things is I would love for you guys to engage, type in the chat room today. This morning, what worked really well is that if you have any key lessons, key value bombs from the speaker, type it in. We're going to drop in some hashtag words. Like today we had hashtag patience, hashtag focus, hashtag self-care. So I want to do that to encourage you guys to engage with each other. Okay. And I want you to drop in your favorite emojis. If you're resonating with this, drop in your emojis as well. Make sure to click like or give us the love there. The other thing is the recordings will be available. You can watch the replay on my YouTube channel. I will also be sending out an email for those who registered as well. Okay. The other is, yes, please show your appreciation and love for our speakers, okay? When they come live, give them that, clapping hand emoji, say go, whoever, give that name there, give them that words of encouragement and support, okay? The other thing is I want to give a special shout out to some folks who are supporting me. My husband, Carson, who's supporting me behind the scenes and showcasing all these captions here in the chat room. I also have my dear friend, Simrat, who is also supporting me as well in moderating the chat room. Okay, so are you guys ready for our first guest speaker? Austin Belcak. He is a career strategist and founder at Cultivated Culture. He's going to talk to us today on how to land your dream job without applying online. He teaches people how to land jobs they love without traditional experience and without applying online. He recently launched his new podcast with over 100 5-star reviews, the Dream Job System podcast. He's been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, Inc., Fast Company, and the USA Today. So let's welcome our guest speaker, Austin. Hi, Austin.
Diane, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. It's so great to see you. And Carson, hello to you as well. Thank you for doing all the behind the scenes work. This has been awesome so far.
Yeah, I'm so delighted to have you here. I know we've been chatting, throughout the last few weeks, since, having you as a guest speaker, and I got to know you a little bit behind the scenes here. But I just want to share why, what I admire about your work is I've been following you for quite some time. And I know you have a huge following as well. For those who aren't following Austin, please make sure to follow him. But one thing what I really admire about you is the way you break down concepts in a way that's very step-by-step, very practical, very actionable. And maybe we can kick things off. I'm curious to know how you go about thinking through problems or ideas and how you structure your thoughts. Because one of the things I also always work with my clients on is structuring the thoughts in a very clear, concise manner.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you following along. I have been a fan of yours as well for a while. I guess, in my mind, you're a LinkedIn top voice. So, we're putting that out in the universe. But yeah, basically.
That made my day, just to let the audience that made my day.
I swore I saw your name and I guess it's just meant to be for this is the energy we're putting out there for 2021. So now it's in the cards and guaranteed to happen. But yeah, so I mean, to answer your question, for me, basically I'm not a very analytical person on the day to day. But something I have is sort of this insatiable curiosity to understand how things work and why things work, and also why things are the way that they are. And I've always had trouble just accepting things at face value, if you will. And I think a lot of us throughout our lives we're just told to do things. And we go and do those things because we hear, this stuff from authority figures, parents or teachers or bosses or gurus online or whatever it is. And for me, I was never the best at handling that kind of stuff. When I was a kid and when I was growing up and when I was in school, I always sort of butted heads with some of those people because I wanted to do things, or I guess the best way to put it is if I thought something wasn't the right way to do it, or if I didn't see the results, I had a hard time investing in it. And obviously, as you just mentioned with referrals and applying online, anybody who's applied online, and I'd love to hear how many of you all in the chat have sent in at least one online application, let's say in the last week. Who's applied for a job online in the last week? Throw it in the chat. I'm curious to know. But my experience with that was I sent a lot of online applications and I didn't get any results from that, but people kept telling me to go back for more. And so I didn't understand why they were doing that. These were people that I'd always gone to for advice, and it got to be really frustrating. So I went out there and I tore apart the hiring process myself to figure out how this whole thing worked so that I could figure out how to get this job that I wanted, because it didn't seem like the traditional process was going to work for me. So I think that's where a lot of this stems from. It was, from this desire to understand how the process works in the background. And then I'm somebody who operates off of systems and processes. Like I need a routine, I need a system, I need a process. And so I got very specific about documenting the stuff that I did. And I do a lot of experimentation. And one of the things I hated was, a lot of the people that I was reading people's articles online and they would tell me all this stuff. They're like, go network, but nobody would tell me how to network. Or they're like, go optimize your resume, but they never tell me how to optimize my resume. And so there was a lot of like people telling me what I should be doing, but not how to do it. And that was really frustrating. So when I started my site and started posting content, I sort of made it my mission to be as specific as I possibly could so that anybody could read this stuff and then go take action on it for themselves.
Oh, that's amazing to hear that. Now, so I'm hearing that you've learned the advice to give this the what, but where did you learn the how from then? Where did you pick that up?
That was through personal experience. It's been, the job search. I essentially, from the day I graduated to the day I started at Microsoft, was just about 2 years and change, a couple of months on top of that. And that was a period of pretty intense experimentation, a lot of failure, a lot of testing, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of numbers. And I basically just went out there and I tried everything. I was A/B testing different resume formats. I was A/B testing different cold emails and networking strategies. I was A/B testing interview answers and approaches. And that was sort of this, it was a flat line for a very long time. And then eventually, you get more data and you get more results and then it starts to grow. And then you hit that sort of exponential trajectory when things finally start to click and you've really figured out how each step of the process works. And then I've been able to refine that, over the last 5 years that Cultivated Culture has been around. We have a community of 650,000 plus people, and we've had even more come through. Yeah. And so we've had a lot of opportunity to test this. I'm one person, right? And I have one background. I have, I am who I am. I look this way. I've grown up in a certain place. I have the experiences that I have. I focused on marketing and tech. There are many, many billions of different people out there. So we needed to figure out how this thing worked for everybody. And that's basically been my mission since starting Cultivated Culture, was taking the core, of this system that I've learned myself and saying, how does this work when we test it for different people in different situations in different parts of the world who are going after different things?
Oh, I love that. Guys, this is what I'm hearing, what I'm learning. Hashtag curiosity, hashtag testing, hashtag system. Type that in the comment. This is, what Austin is sharing with us here. I love that. I love that. So I want to dive into some of your personal questions for people to get to know more about you. Like, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. So my wife and I, we brew our own beer and make our own hot sauce. We've taken a little bit of a break on the beer side, but we do a lot of that. And we've sort of had this insatiable, I've used that word now twice. I'm like, it's like somebody's sponsoring me. But the show we've been binging recently is Gilmore Girls. I don't know if you've watched it, but it's sort of become like our comfort food during COVID. So I feel like not a lot of people would pin that on me. But yeah, so that's a little bit about us. Diana, what's one thing that people don't know about you?
Oh, most people don't. Most people don't know that I was a math tutor for 10 years.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
I was
amazing.
a math tutor for 10 years. People, when I was in school, a lot of them thought I was going to be a math teacher or a math
And
professor.
now here you are, future LinkedIn top voice.
And I decided to go into this path here. I mean, I still had that path of going to teaching, but yeah, most people don't know I was a math tutor, and I think that has also influenced me through my work as a math tutor and in consulting. It has also influenced me the way I think in a more structured way as well. Even though I also like to tap into my emotions, but I've also learned. I guess in math, it's all about step by step, right? So I like to teach things in step by step. And because English was not my first language, like I came here to Canada when I was 16. I like to simplify things in terms of language as well. I don't like to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so important in this process too, with all the jargon, right? You have like the applicant tracking system and you know, the hiring manager, like all these crazy terms. And it's like, you know, it really comes down to a few simple things that I think all of us can kind of relate to when you peel back all the jargon and the layers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So Austin, what fulfills you? What gives you joy?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that two things give me joy. I really like experimenting and testing, and that's why you know, that this whole business is sort of a vehicle for doing that. So I'm a marketer at heart, and marketing is really all about experimentation, and having this platform and this business lets me do a lot of that. And I think it's always fun to kind of come up with a hypothesis and see how that plays out. And marketing is very, you know, psychology driven, or psychologically driven. And that's just fascinating to me. So I love to say, like, I think that if we do this, here's how people will react, but let's go test that to see if that's true or not. And just those little tests over time, that's like one of the most fun parts about doing this. And then obviously, that's how I started. I didn't really think that, you know, I would be out here like landing people amazing jobs and doing all that stuff. You know, I'd hope that the strategies would help people. But I was really in it for the platform to kind of do this marketing stuff. What came as a nice surprise was like, I didn't realize how it would make me feel when you do get that email from somebody who's like, you know, recently one of the people in our program, she was unemployed for 2 years and she finally landed a job that doubled her salary and she's working in product design now. And like, I never thought that I would be like, that would make my heart so full. But it does. And so that has been a very nice bonus as well. And that may seem like the obvious benefit, right? But to me, that was sort of the thing that came later. But I would say those two things make it easy to get out of bed in the morning for sure.
That's great to hear. And what's been your biggest lesson learned in 2020?
That I think systems are more important than goals. And that's something that I've focused on for a while, but I truly think that 2020 kind of shined a light on that, where, you know, a lot of people do all this planning and they have their 5-year plan and they have their goals and all this stuff set out. And then we hit a global pandemic and everything changes. And so I think that instead of focusing on that stuff, if we focus on the things that we can do every single day, and, you know, we show up and we do that, you know, extra 1%, or if we take that one step forward every day, it's a lot easier to, one, stick with it and make the progress that we're looking for. But two, it's a lot easier to kind of make it through the tough times and kind of, you know, push through, because it's not, you know, I had this goal of doing X and now this whole thing screwed it up and my whole life and my identity is gone. It's, you know, I'm going to show up tomorrow and I'm going to do a little bit more. And I'm going to change course because I'm only looking one day ahead. I can change courses. I can be nimble. So I would say that that's one thing that's at least come to mind for me.
#system. What I'm hearing is having habits, like having good habits, right? Building good habits.
Absolutely.
And, that's so key.
That's what it's all about.
Were you reading a book about the habits book?
I was.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for anything on habits. And I hadn't read Atomic Habits not in a while. I hadn't read it at all, but it came out a while ago. And so I was overdue for that. And that was the book I just closed the door on, and it was an awesome read for sure.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, this ties into what we were talking about earlier this morning. You know, this is like about systems, habits, the consistency, right? To really build that momentum to get the results there. So Austin, let's dive into your topic on how to land your dream job without applying online. So let's talk about that. What does it really mean to land a job without applying online?
Yeah. So really what that means is getting in the door via a referral, and also finding a creative and I think more clear way to illustrate your value. Those are the two core pillars of the system. So for the first pillar, I mean, you shared a lot of great data about this, but when we look at how the job search breaks down, we look at the data. Essentially, you know, the average role out there gets 250 to 300 applications, and that's everybody from Google, who receives 50,000 resumes a week, to, you know, the mom and pop shop, you know, across the road here. And so that's just the average, and that's a lot of applications. And so what happens? Well, all those applications are screened by a piece of software that's looking for specific keywords and skills and stuff like that. In many cases, in other cases, there's a human going and scanning through those resumes. But you know, if you do the math, even 1 minute per resume for 250 resumes, that's a lot of time invested. And so what happens? Well, about 20 resumes get pulled out of that. And then of those 20, maybe 4 to 6 people are brought in. And when you do the math there, that's about a 2% chance of getting in the door. And that's just for an interview, right? That's not even an offer or anything guaranteed. That's just a seat at the table. So the problem is that 75% of people leverage online applications as their primary method for getting in the door for new opportunities, for applying to jobs. So 75% of people are all playing in this channel where you only have a 2% chance of just getting a seat at the table. And so the next question then naturally is, well, if people aren't seeing success, or the hires aren't coming from that area, where are they coming from? And that's what the data tells us, is that basically it's referrals. So when we look at the data on that side, only about 10% of applicants come through the channel of referrals, and they actually end up accounting for 40 to 80% of hires. Wow. So when we think about that, if you're applying online, you're in the most competitive pool with the most amount of people, and you're all vying for that 2% chance of just getting a seat at the table. Whereas if you're going through this door of landing a referral, building relationships, you're only competing with 10% of the pool, and you have a 40 to 80% chance of getting hired. So the data tells us that investing time in referrals is going to get you the most bang for your buck. It's going to be way more effective. But I think the problem is, you know, what we talked about earlier. You know, why do people keep coming back to the system for more if it doesn't work? And I think it's because a lot of people jam this idea of networking down our throat, but they don't then tell us what to do. They say you have to network, you got to, you know, tap into your connections or build new connections, but they don't tell you how to go about doing that. Yeah. So one of the big aspects that I focus on is teaching people how to build relationships and turn them into referrals. The second piece is that sort of that creative value illustration, but I just want to pause there and because that's a whole nother topic. So I don't know if you want to dive more into the relationship building thing, or if you want me to keep going and talk about the value side.
I want to talk more about the relationship side first, with the value side, because it's so key. I want you guys to guess, like, you know, when I was recruiting at Google, you guys want to guess how many roles I filled through online applications? Does anyone want to guess? Austin, you want to take a guess? I had about 80 roles to fill in 1 year.
0, 1. Nice.
I had one. I hired one person through online application. Everyone else was through referrals or through proactive sourcing. So meaning, like, I as a recruiter or my sourcers would identify talent in the market. Like Google had like a whole team of sourcers, and they would feed me talent there. And so when you talk about this stat, right, and I look at, you know, if you're trying to compete in these big companies, you need to go beyond just applying online. You need to go through also the back door to get a foot in the door there, right? The online application system or the job board is just more a way to help you identify what's available. But we want to get creative here. But let's talk about relationship building, because I have to tell, like, from my experience, a lot of my clients or anyone I talk to, networking is like one of the most challenging things or most awkward things or daunting things. And you maybe break it down, like how to go about networking effectively or really building those relationships.
Yeah, and it's, again, it's sort of, I think, coming from the place of, you know, people are sharing this advice and they haven't really, I think, one, either they're good at relationship building, but they haven't thought about why they are. Sometimes we're quick to say it's a natural talent, and that's not necessarily true. Some people may be more better at it naturally than others, but that's not to say that, you can only be good at networking if you're like natural at it. And then on top of that, there's just people who haven't gone out there and really tried any of this stuff. They've done the same things we always hear, which is, go to a career fair, or, join some sort of community or networking group, or get out there on LinkedIn and send connection requests. And a lot of times that stuff doesn't really work. So I think that people are afraid of networking because the actions that we're told to do, one, are terrifying, but two, they don't sound like they'd be very fruitful or really much fun at all. And I think when we go about relationship building the right way, it can be awesome. Like, it can be so fulfilling, and it can be so gratifying, and it can be really empowering. And that's something that I learned. So I'm sort of naturally more introverted than extroverted. I really don't like going to massive events and mixers and things like that. I much prefer like a one-on-one situation, sort of like we're doing now. Obviously, we have a bunch of people watching, but it's really you and I having a conversation. And so when I was networking, a couple of the things I tried to focus on were, first, I really tried to focus in on people who could make an impact on the hiring decision for my role. So I wasn't just kind of out there handing out business cards and handing out my LinkedIn and hoping somebody could help me. But instead I said, okay, here are the places where I want to work. I want to work at Google. I want to work at Microsoft or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And these are just my personal target companies. And then I said, okay, I want to work in marketing or in some sort of client-facing role. So what do those roles look like? And then I went and found people who worked in those specific roles, because I knew that if I could build a relationship with those people, one, I knew that if I was going to build a relationship with a blank canvas, like it's not just my warm connections or network, I might as well go for the best person I possibly could. And so the people who are already working in those roles, or who might be managing those roles, I knew those people would have the most influence, because they were the ones who are going to be sitting in the room where the hiring decision is made. And they're going to be the ones saying, yes, like, we want Austin. And I knew if I could get in the door with them, that would significantly boost my chances of making this whole thing happen, because it wasn't just a random referral into the interview process and then I don't know anybody. I would have somebody who could be a champion and an advocate for me throughout. So that's really where I focused my time. And it was much more quality over quantity. I wasn't trying to shake everybody's hand. Instead, I focused on a select group of people. And I was excited to network with those people too, right? Like, I looked at them, I didn't look at this as I'm only talking to you because I want a job at your company. I viewed this as you're working at Google. And let's say, I want to be a recruiter. Like, you're doing what I want to do. Like, this is my dream job, and you're already doing it. So we already have that in common. There's one thing in common, but that's so cool. Like, it would be weird for me not to look up to you, because this is my dream job. And so that's the way I approached it. I was like, even if I don't get a referral or something out of this person, just simply having this person in my network, somebody who's already achieved what I'm hoping to achieve, who's working at this amazing place, that's going to benefit me. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even a year from now, but at some point, having this person in my network, it's going to benefit me. Yeah. So that's how I went about, viewing these relationships. And I worked from there. But I think the big mistake that we make as job seekers, or as people who are networking, is that we tend to make it about us. And I don't think that is, I don't think you can really blame anybody for doing that, because what's going on here is we're simultaneously being asked to make not a step outside of our comfort zone. For many of us, it's a massive leap outside of our comfort zone. Yeah. And we're essentially tasked with turning this stranger into somebody who is going to get us a job at this amazing company. And that's huge. That's a massive leap. And so for many of us, that's so uncomfortable and so unfamiliar. Nobody's giving us a recipe or a playbook or a step-by-step process. So we're expected to do this massively uncomfortable thing with no guidance whatsoever. So what do? We do what's familiar. And that's, I want a job. You work at this company. Let me tell you that I want a job. And then it's out of my hands. Like, it's up to you now. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the way most of us approach it, but that doesn't typically work. And the reason is because on the other side, the way that that's viewed is this person's only reaching out to me because they want a job. They're basically asking me to go to my manager and say, hey, Austin's worth tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, and I can vouch for their work. And nobody's really going to be able to do that based on, one conversation or one email. And so what do we do instead? Well, the way that I like to view relationships is sort of like a bank account. So if anybody's open to checking account, when I had my first job, I wasn't being paid very much, and I racked up a ton of credit card debt. And so I was constantly overdrafting my bank account. And so this analogy plays well into that, because essentially, if you think of this relationship, if you think of the ask you want, whether it's a referral or an introduction or whatever it is, if that costs you like 20 social dollars, but you don't have any social dollars in your bank account, if you try to make that ask, make that withdrawal, you're going to overdraw your bank account. And in the real world, what that means is you pay an overdraft fee, or your bank dings you, or you get a nasty email. There's these consequences. In the relationship building field, that means you probably don't get a response, or maybe you rub the person the wrong way, or no matter what, you're probably not getting the outcome you're looking for. But if we start to make deposits, small deposits, by making our outreach about this person, adding value to this person, and we slowly work our way up, not in one phone call or one email, but in a series of touch points. If we start working our way up a couple dollars at a time until we get to that $20 mark, then we can successfully make the ask, make that withdrawal for the referral or the introduction or whatever it is. And we know that we're in a good place to do it because we've added enough value first. So to throw another sort of analogy out there, when I was younger and played soccer, our coach would always tell us, because everybody would just get it and shoot. He was like, all right, you have to pass 4 times before somebody takes a shot. Like, that's the rule. So it's the same type of thing here. Like, how can you pass the ball? How can you add value 4 times before you make an ask? And if you start approaching relationship building that way, it's going to be so much more successful, and you're going to start getting better results. And it's also going to feel good. A lot of people tell me it's like icky to network, or it feels weird, or it feels transactional. And that's really because a lot of people set themselves up that way. They make it that way. So if you take this approach of, let me add value first and let me play the long game, and the long game doesn't have to be 6 months or a year. It could be a couple of weeks. It could be a month. A lot of times, sometimes it just happens in one call. But if you play that longer game and you delay your gratification to build up the relationship a little bit, you're going to get much better results.
Absolutely. So I know a lot of people were typing in strategic networking, hashtag strategic networking, and now like hashtag add value. What I'm hearing, I just want to sum it up what you just said, is in your approach is, one is getting really clear on your target roles and companies. And then second is then coming up with like the list of people, in terms of people who would be advocates for you, or we could influence you as well. And then the third, what I'm hearing is really identifying common interests. Common ground. But when you have that common ground, it makes it easier for someone to really approach or willing to help you as well. Right? That's really key there. Amazing. I love that. What are some things that people can start doing in terms of with networking? I think you talked about some of these tips. What are some of these proactive things that you can start, especially those who are just starting out, or even like I have heard right now, like those who have been working for 10, 20 years at the same company? They haven't really had to network per se in terms of outside, like external networking. They just build the relationships internal. What advice do you have, or what can they start doing in terms of just getting started with networking? Yeah,
for sure. So I would, maybe I can give it just a couple of, like, we talked about the step-by-step stuff that you can implement. So maybe we'll share a couple of things, but again, the first thing that's helpful to do is just sit down and make a list of ways that you could potentially add value to this person. So I think we tend to overblow value. Value can be recognizing somebody for something they've done. Maybe they made an interesting career switch. Maybe they wrote an article, or they have a personal website or a portfolio. Maybe they were featured in something. Additionally, you could also find points of common ground. So again, maybe somebody's coming from a similar background. Maybe they're an alumni. Maybe they brew beer at home too, or like Gilmore Girls or whatever it is. And finding those points of connection can also be really helpful as well. And then finally, can you help this person achieve a goal? This isn't always the most obvious thing, but maybe you make a mutually beneficial introduction, or maybe you know that, hey, Austin released a podcast, so I'll go leave a review, or maybe Diana's hosting a summit, so let me go share this link far and wide and try to get some registrants, and then follow up with her and let her know that I did that. Helping people achieve a goal, or understanding what their goals are and trying to add value there can also be really big. So can you make a list of all of the options? What's available to you? And then just get out there and start implementing that. So if you're coming, let's say, if you're trying to change industries, and for me, I went from healthcare to tech. So one thing I found helpful was getting out there and connecting with people who also made a similar transition. And LinkedIn can really help with this. So something that you can do is go to LinkedIn and just run a search for your target job title. So for me, I wanted to I worked in partner management. So maybe I type in partner manager. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make 2 lists. The first list is going to be 10 companies that are in my current industry. So for me in healthcare, maybe it's like Johnson & Johnson and yada, yada, yada. I come up with 9 more companies. And then I'm going to make a list of 10 companies in my target industry. So maybe that's, again, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, et cetera. So I have my 2 lists of 10 and I have my job title. I've searched for my job title, partner manager. Next, I'm going to go to LinkedIn's all filters tab. So in that little sub tab where you can set some of the filters, if you go to all filters, there's a past company filter. So in that past company filter, you're going to put in all 10 companies from your current industry. And then there's a current companies filter, and you're going to put in all 10 companies for your target industry. And when you hit search, LinkedIn is going to show you everybody who works in your target job title at one of your target companies in your target industry who came from one of the companies in your current industry. So essentially somebody who has already made the transition successfully from where you are now to where you want to go into one of the job titles that you're looking for. Then all you need to do is send them an email and just say, hey, I was looking for people who made the transition from healthcare to technology. Your journey from X to Y is really, really impressive. I'd love to just ask you a few questions about how you made it happen. I imagine it probably wasn't easy to do, and it's super impressive, and I'd just love to learn more. That's such an easy way to connect with people on the basis of having that shared non-traditional background, right? So that's one thing that you can do. A second thing that you can do is find people who are active in your space. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to just go to Google and run a search for, if you want to get into artificial intelligence, you can type in, artificial intelligence influencers to follow on LinkedIn. If you want to get into software engineering, you can type in, software engineers to follow on LinkedIn, or you could just do some browsing yourself. But what you're looking for are people who are active on the platform. And essentially, there's this rule of online communities that basically says, when we have a critical mass of people in an online community, it's called the 99-1 rule. So 1% of people are going to be content creators. 9% of people are going to be engagers or commenters. They don't create their own content, but they engage with other people's. And then 90% are going to be, lurkers. They just observe. They don't really engage or interact. And so what we want to do is find that 1%. And if we can find them, we can show up and we can add value to their posts. So you are a great example of this. You share awesome content across many platforms. And so if I wanted to build a relationship with you, maybe rather than just showing up and outright asking for a phone call, maybe something that I do is say, okay, I'm going to show up twice a week and I'm going to leave a really thoughtful comment. Like, I'm going to read your post and I'm going to do like a yes and type of thing. I'm going to say yes and support what you're saying, and then I'm going to say and add some additional value. And maybe I do some research and share some links to some of your material or this summit or whatever it is. And when I do that, 2 things are happening. One, I'm hopefully getting your attention in a positive way, and not in a get me a job sense, but in a, hey, this person is supporting me. They're commenting on my stuff. They're liking it. They're saying positive things. And if I keep showing up that way, there's going to be some familiarity that's created here. And that's going to make the ask much easier. But on top of that, if I look at my post views, or if anybody looks at the views on their posts, the analytics, just think about who's in this person's network. Like if they're a software engineer, they're likely going to be connected with many other software engineers. If they work at a technology company, they're likely connected with many other people who work in technology companies. So if you find 1 or 2 or 3 people who work in the space that you want to work in, chances are pretty good that their network is just like massively full of people who also work in that space. And that's who's viewing their posts. So if you show up as one of the top comments there because you've left a thoughtful and valuable comment, you're going to get views from a lot of other people in this space, and you're going to piggyback on their views, on the author's, post views. So you don't need your own audience. You don't need to do all this crazy, content strategy, personal branding stuff. Just go piggyback on somebody else's who's already in this space. And if you show up enough times, if you do that enough, you're going to build a relationship with the author. You're also going to build relationships, or at least get on people's radar, who are in this industry that you're trying to break into. So those are two quick ways that people can go about this. I could keep going with this stuff all day.
I love it. This is strategic, guys. I want you to re-listen to this if you missed anything, because what you just cover is very strategic, methodical type of networking, and I love it. For me, one thing I always talk about is it's increasing your visibility, markability, and credibility, and the likability to stand out to get more opportunities. And that's what you're talking about here, is being very strategic about it to really stand out to get the attention there. This is brilliant. Like, I think this was great. And it ties in nicely when I talked to Jonathan next as well. I want to spend some time, because one question here is on, what is your value validation project strategy? I love it so much. I've been sharing this article with so many of my clients. So I would love if you could talk more about that and how people can actually start applying it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the value validation project strategy is essentially the answer to that feeling of not having your value be recognized. And so what I mean by that is, I can go back to my soccer analogy here, but I was always frustrated in the job search because I would say, man, I know I can do this job if somebody would just give me a chance. Like, if somebody would just let me get in there, and if they would train me, I have the hustle and I'm hungry and the drive and I can do this. But the problem is, companies aren't in the business of just giving people a chance. Making a bad hire, as you well know, can be really, really costly for a lot of reasons. So there's obviously the biggest factor in hiring is who's going to bring the most ROI. But the second largest, I would say, is actually minimizing risk. Like, we want to maximize upside and minimize risk, as is true with really any investment that you make. So when companies are looking for candidates' qualities and qualifications, they do look for the familiar stuff, and that's where the resume comes in. But the problem is, resumes, cover letters, they're not good in terms of a marketing and a sales perspective. And that's really what they are. They're marketing and sales documentation. So the job search process is a sales process. You are the product, and your resume is a piece of material marketing the product. But the problem is, the resume fails all the tests of sales 101. If I want to be a good salesperson, I need to make my pitch about the other person. I need to make it about who I'm speaking to, not about me. But the resumes only let us focus on ourselves. And that's even more damaging when we're coming from that non-traditional background and we don't have the traditional experience to speak to, or the keywords or whatever. So the value validation project is essentially an answer to that, where we kind of strip everything away and we say, okay, what does this company really want? They want somebody to come in and solve their problem. They want somebody to come in and add value in a big way. And if we do our research on this company and this role, and we understand where the company is at, where they're going, and why they're hiring for this role, we can essentially create a bit of a pitch deck, or a proposal, if you will, that in 10 slides or so says, hey, I've done my research and I know what you're looking for. Here are a couple of ways to help you. So here, if you have a challenge, here are a couple of solutions. If you're launching an initiative, here's some feedback or some ideas. And then at the end, here's who I am and why I'm qualified to give this advice. And so that's a pretty high level overview. But essentially what we're doing is we're taking control of our value illustration and saying, yeah, I may not have, whatever it is that you're looking for on my resume, or maybe I do, but I need to go above and beyond to show you what I bring to the table, and I need to make it relevant. And so I put together this deck that illustrates exactly how I would handle what you're hoping this new hire would handle as they come into this role. So I'm happy to give examples. I want to be mindful of time though, but yes, that's it's about the closest thing I found to a silver bullet in the job search process.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And you guys, you can just Google VVP Value Validation Project on Google. Austin's blog post will come up there. Yeah, I've been sharing so much. So in the interest of time, I just want to say thank you so much for your time and insights today. I know we can talk forever. Like I really align with your strategies that you talk about, similar to like my thinking as well. So if you guys want more from Austin, check out his website, cultivatedculture.com. Check out his tools. He got a bunch of free tools. Like get a free resume builder, an email finder. That's a great tool if you're trying to find someone to get their emails. I love that you build these free tools for people, Austin, and also make sure to check out his latest podcast and follow him on LinkedIn and Instagram. Thank you so much, Austin. Have a happy holidays.
Thanks for having me, Diana. I appreciate it. And you all are in for a treat with Jonathan next. He's fantastic. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, a 20-second outro music, and then we'll be back. All right, welcome back to the Career Relaunch Summit. Up next, we have Jonathan Javier, who is the CEO founder of Onesulting. He's going to talk about breaking into top companies coming from a non-target school and non-traditional background. Are you guys ready for him? Give me your favorite emoji to welcome Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan.
What is up, Diana? How's everyone doing?
Great. It's been great. It's been on fire here. So many people have just been chiming in, and we've been using hashtags for key learnings. We had earlier hashtag strategic networking, hashtag add value. And so this is a great segue of having you to come talk to us on how to break into top companies. But before we dive in, let me just give a quick intro here. And I want to ask Jonathan some questions about him as well before we dive into the topic. So Jonathan, his mission is to turn underdogs into winners. He's worked in the strategy and operations team at Snap, Google, and Cisco, coming from a non-target school and non-traditional background. He's led over 170 workshops in 9 different countries. He has amassed over 78,000 followers on LinkedIn in just 8 months, as well as 15 million impressions yearly on his content. So, Jonathan, why don't you share with us what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Yeah, well, first off, Diana, thank you so much for having me. Could we get a hashtag Diana in the chat real quick? Because Diana's been doing this whole day today, and this is pretty awesome. So put that hashtag Diana in the chat. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. You know why I'm standing? I'm standing because I have so much energy from Austin's chat. But yeah, I'm standing because I'm energetic. So yeah, a little thing about me. So I come from a Filipino background where my mom was actually the only one who worked in the family. And she's actually my inspiration and motivation because for the past 40 years, she's been providing for our family in regards to my college, my brothers and my sisters too as well, working part-time. And my dad was the one who was actually the stay-at-home dad. So it was reverse roles. But, at the end of the day, they motivate me to be the best that I can be, not only for myself, but for each and every one of you here today. And we're going to get some good words of wisdom. That's for sure.
Oh, amazing. What gives you joy? What fulfills you?
You know what gives me joy? Everybody here. Honestly, you're taking your Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time to come here and learn. You're taking the first steps into your career. I think what happens is that proactiveness is super important, right? I call it proactive recruiting, reactive recruiting. So each and every one of you give me energy. So click that light bulb. If you're on LinkedIn, click that light bulb.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I want to also ask you, what's your biggest lesson learned in 2020?
Yeah. So what I say all the time is rejection is redirection. Who here has heard that quote?
Yes.
Right. Rejection is redirection. I'll give 2 quotes, right? Rejection is redirection, right? As long as you react to it in the right way, everybody. If you've been affected by layoffs or furloughs with COVID-19, I personally was affected by it when I was at Cisco. It's your mindset, right? You utilize it as motivation. You take 1 step back, but you take 9 steps forward instead. I always stress this all the time. Like when we got rejected from Forbes in the final round, we were like, okay, let's just go step it up and be even better. So that's one part. Number 2 is always asking for help, everybody. Ask for help. Ask people in your network at companies that you're specifically interested in working for. Because the worst thing that can happen when you reach out to them is they don't respond. But the best thing that can happen is they respond and you are able to get into your career because of that one person. You only need one person to believe in you. Always remember that. You got 2 here, myself and Diana.
Yeah, amazing. What's one of your favorite client success story this year?
I gotta give a shout out to one of my mentees, Stephanie Nuesi. I don't know if she's here.
Yeah, we just got connected a couple of days ago. She connected with me because she saw you speaking here.
Awesome. It's actually her birthday today, so happy birthday, Stephanie.
Happy birthday.
So 2 years ago, Stephanie reached out to me on LinkedIn, and she was at a non-target school. And she was always like, wow, how do I get into my career? I've had a dream of working at Google, right? We all have different dreams and ambitions, right? The thing is, we need someone to guide us down the path to reaching those dreams and making them into reality. So with her, I guided her throughout her whole entire career. I was able to actually help her network with people at Cisco. She got an offer at Cisco, but then also she got an offer at Google recently, 3 weeks ago, coming from a non-target school, a non-traditional background. And I'm super happy to say all my mentees have actually gotten offers. So super thankful for that.
Yay! Let's give some celebrate emojis here. Amazing to hear. That's great to hear that. Amazing, amazing. So let's dive into your topic here. Let's start with your story. Okay, on your story on what's your story on the rejection becoming a redirection? I know you alluded a little further. If you can really elaborate a bit more, that'd be great.
Yes, of course. So rejections, redirection. You have probably heard that a lot. So when I was in school at UC Riverside, I was trying to get into all these different companies, all these big tech companies in non-technical roles. And I was like, man, like I'm applying to all these roles and I'm getting rejected by all of them, right? Mm-hmm. So then I was like, okay, especially coming from a non-target, non-traditional background. And by the way, everybody in the chat, who here went to like a non-target school or a non-traditional background, put me in the chat if you did. Yeah. I was like, you have to use unconventional methods to get into your career. So I was networking with people on LinkedIn. All of my opportunities actually came from just utilizing the platform. And that's how I was able to get my first opportunity at Snapchat. So I worked at Snapchat specifically in product ops. I got that through LinkedIn messaging, through LinkedIn content, got into working at Google, and then through LinkedIn personal branding at Cisco. So it's all just been from LinkedIn. And I'm going to share with you all some strategies today. Hopefully that'll help.
I love it. Hashtag unconventional strategies. Hashtag LinkedIn. So let's talk about this here. How to break into top companies coming from a non-target school or non-traditional background. This is a juicy one. I think a lot of people can really relate to this, or those who have, these goals and dreams of really wanting to go big, right? And do something different. Yeah,
definitely. So this is something that I've always thought of in all the strategies that I do. I have thousands of them, but let me give you like 3 of them. Okay?
That was my question. Your top 3 strategies.
Top 3. There you go. Right. So I think the most important, everybody, is you have to find a common ground with people. Right. So a common ground could be, let's just say this. Everybody in the chat, who here wears glasses? I'm serious. Like, who here wears glasses, right? Say hashtag glasses if you wear glasses, right? So what I would be doing, and this sounds silly, but it works. So what I used to do all the time is I'd come to events like these and I'd mention something that was out of the ordinary, specifically in the event. And I'd go reach out to them and be like, hey, Diana, hope you're well. I saw you wear glasses. I wear glasses too. It'd be great to connect. I'm serious. It works because no one's going to do this. Well, now all you can do it, right? So that's one thing that I would do, finding that common ground. All right. Number 2, like, I don't want to say alumni because sometimes coming from non-target schools, there's not a lot of alumni, right? But I would say, everybody, get your first name. This thing that sounds silly, but I'm telling you, unconventional. What I used to do was put my first name, Jonathan. I searched it in whatever company I was interested in. I go connect with all of them. Jonathan's at Google, Jonathan's at Facebook. And I'd say, hey, I saw we have the same name. Love to connect. 90% of people connected. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Funny, right?
So simple, but so I love it. Look at it. So I'm just right now looking at my connection here. So I see that you have the quotes and that. I love collecting motivational quotes. You see, I have this. Your life is now.
That is another strategy to everybody. The reason why I have these, and I don't know if it's the same thing for you, Diana, was because everybody in every interview that I had, a video interview or phone chat or coffee chat, people would mention the posters in the back and would mention the Kobe LeBron, sorry, it's backwards, but the Kobe LeBron and Michael Jordan poster that broke the ice every single time. You see what I mean? Those little small things are the ones that get you in.
It's the little things. It's like those icebreakers to have that common ground, common interest. That's what's going to help, right? I love that. What's another strategy? Someone said, give us all 1,000 strategies. We don't have all that time.
So many strategies. So what I would say too as well, if you're trying to network with a lot of people, what I would be specifically doing is networking with people who are in the chat, right? That's very important, but also people who are engaging with, let's say you're all connected with Diana, I'm assuming. So what I would be doing is going to Diana's post, check it out, go look at who liked and commented on it, right? What I would do is comment your thoughts on Diana's post, Then you see the people who commented. And if they work at companies you're specifically interested in or in fields you're interested in, you go reach out to them. And then you say, hey, I saw you're connected with Diana. We commented on the same post. I'd love to connect with you. You see that common ground I just create just from that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
you do it. You're able to build your personal brand around these different things, little small
Love
things.
that. So let's talk about, I guess, on this, first step is that find that common ground. Now, how do we really nurture that relationship further, deepen that relationship even further? Like, that's a common question I hear is like, okay, once I got them, they're on my LinkedIn now. What do I do? How do I start that conversation?
Yeah.
And
So
deepen it.
I think the mistake, Diana, that people make is that they just simply go ask for a referral. Like, hey, Diana, give me a referral, right? I think you have to, of course, get on the phone chat with them. Do something like this. Ask what you can do for them instead of what they can do for you. I think what happens nowadays is we just say, hey, I saw you worked at Facebook. Let's connect. Could you give me a job at Facebook, right? But imagine you actually talk to someone as a human being rather than just a professional. I think that humanistic approach when you're reaching out to people, inquiring about their story. Everybody here, share your story in the chat. What is your story? What is your mission? My mission is to turn underdogs into winners. What is yours? Does it correlate with it? Let's connect. You see what I mean? So I think that nurturing relationship and then also staying in touch. Everybody, guess how many people actually stay in touch with me out of the thousands of phone chats that I've had?
Like less than 1%, I would say.
Less than 1%. And you know who that less than 1% is? My mentees.
Your mentees. No, I know. I hear that when I used to do speaking across universities, probably out of hundreds of people I meet, I'll have like a handful of people follow up. Like 1%, less than 1% will follow up. And those who follow up are those who I became a mentor for and those who I would become an advocate for to refer them for opportunities. So a quick story. Many years ago, when I was speaking at a university, a student was really passionate about getting into recruiting. And he was an HR undergrad. And he followed up with me. Now, he was debating, should I go into agency recruiting or corporate recruiting? And he followed up, wasn't sure, really wanted to get some advice on that. But what stood out for me was his passion and his eagerness. Like he really showcased that eagerness just through his volunteer work, through giving back and all that. Anyways, and I then introduced him to someone in my network who was an agency recruiter to learn more.
Wow.
And then through that, he developed a relationship. The agency recruiter, my friend, then referred him to his former boss, who was an executive director at a big name agency. They talked, and then they created the first ever internship for him.
That's what's up.
It was through discovery, exploratory, but also just showcasing eagerness and proactiveness, right? So what are some things that you've seen, like as we're talking about this, like what really differentiates those who really, it's like going above and beyond the extra mile in networking to really get ahead, to get those type of opportunities?
Yeah, LinkedIn content. Very, very, this is called reactive recruiting. I talk a lot about this in one of my courses, but I'll talk a little bit about it today. Reactive recruiting. Because what happens is if you build a personal brand around the industry or the field you want to get into, it helps a ton with people seeing who you are and then reaching out to you. How you can do this is in one of two ways. Number one, you go find people specifically in your niche. Let's just say you're interested in finance, right? Let's say fintech. You go look up the hashtag fintech, look it up, go look at the posts, go look at the top people who have posted about fintech, go comment on their post, the $1.80 strategy by Gary Vee. You can be able to build your personal brand around their personal brand, which then people are like, who's Alejandra? Who is Jean? Who is Eddie? That is how you do that first part with building your brand. The second part is making content, right? I encourage each and every one of you, if you want, to create a LinkedIn post about this event. Tag Diana, tag Austin, tag whoever. What happens is organic networking happens because if we like and comment on it, guess who sees it?
Yep.
A whole network. And guess who we're connecting with? A bunch of recruiters, professionals in your dream company. And that is how you turn your dream into a reality. So I'd say those two things.
I love that, right? It's so simple, right? It's so simple. It's just doing that. And you are also showcasing, giving a shout out. You are showcasing maybe like what your key lessons learned are. And then you're getting the visibility. And then essentially it's like you said, brand building, hashtag brand building, type in that brand building there. What advice do you have for those who are afraid to be seen, right? Sometimes I hear from people, oh, I work in I already have a job and I'm worried about what my employers will think or what my colleagues will think. What advice do you have for that?
Yeah, what I would say is, I think the best time to be looking for a job is when you have a job, right? So what I'd say is you don't have to make LinkedIn content in regards to you finding a job and your employer finding out. You can always send messages to people in regards to like, hey, I'm trying to transition from this to that. I think what's very important to everybody is, like I said, that common ground. So let's just say you're trying to transition into an industry, let's just say from retail to tech, which is what I did. I would go find people who specifically used to work in your field and now work in the other field, right? So how you do this is very simple. All you got to do is type in your company, whatever company, let's just say Kohl's, and you just go type in the other company you want to work for, let's just say Facebook, and then you can find everybody who used to work at Kohl's that now work at Facebook. Then you go network with them, connect and say, hey, I saw you made a transition from retail to tech. I'd love to connect. That rhymes. So, but I didn't mean that. But that is how you do it. So that is how you connect. Man, I have so much energy. I'm taking off my glasses.
I love this. I love this. So someone had a question around for you. Like, can you expand your story? Are you saying goals or passion? I'm not sure we're clear on that bit. I don't know if the words I understand. Are you going after to understanding your goals or passion here? Expand, share your story. Yeah. Oh, maybe is it sharing your story? How to expand on how to share your story effectively? Maybe we can talk about that. How do you share your story in a way that will resonate with people? And I love this topic. I have a course on mastering your glowing introduction. And I talk a lot about, instead of just talking about your past, you also want to talk about what are you passionate about, what do you care about, like what are you known for there, like the who you are piece. Yeah, let's talk about that in terms of introducing yourself, because that's part of the networking.
Awesome. Anna, first off, Anna, hopefully I'm getting one of those right. First off, you have an amazing story, and why I say this is because every single one of you have a story. Always remember that. It's a rejection story. It's a story of you getting into your career. It's how you grew up. What I'd say is this: how you structure it is very simple. You can actually look at I have it on my LinkedIn post in the featured section as the first one. This one actually got shared by Jeff Weiner, which was kind of crazy. But basically, you do this. You have your first part. If you're making a LinkedIn post, your first part should be specifically how you felt before, right? How did you feel before in the beginning? Then you go into how you overcame that struggle, how you overcame how you felt in the beginning, and how you overcame that. I call it the climax. Then you go into the takeaways in regards to what you learned from that climax. And then at the end, tagging people who helped you get there. It's very important. And that is how you share your story. And what's crazier is this: you not only share your story, but you give credit to people who have helped you create that story around who you are. So always remember, everybody, each and every one of you have a story. If you say you don't have one, hit me up. I will go take that story from your mind and make it happen.
Yes, type in hashtag share your story. Jonathan, I know something that you do. I read, on the note of, giving others credit is you write thank you cards.
Yes.
You talk about that.
Yes, thank you cards. By the way, who here writes not LinkedIn messages? Thank you cards. So I love thank you cards. So when I was actually at Kohl's when I was a student, I actually wrote 150 cards for each employee. I was interning there, for every employee, because I just, I think that a handwritten note and a letter means a lot to someone. I think what happens in today's society is we forget who helped us get to where we want to be. I think that taking 15, 30 seconds out of your day to make a card, send a message to someone who helped you, those 30 seconds could mean something in regards to a lifetime, right? So I've stayed in touch with everybody. I actually have this LinkedIn reach out sheet right here. Every 3 months, everybody, I stayed in touch with every single person. I sent them an email saying, this is what I've been up to. This is my update. I hope you're doing well. I'd love to hear more about you. It's so funny. One of my mentors was like, hey, Jonathan, I love that you just stay in touch with me all the time. And sometimes I don't respond. And that's totally fine, right? Yeah. Just know professionals, recruiters, mentors, sometimes all they want is a thank you. And you're an opportunity for them to thank you.
Yeah, I love that. It's expressing gratitude, like right attitude about gratitude here. I love that. And this reminded me when I was at Google recruiting, like I would get so many people reach out to me as a recruiter. Like my response whenever I reach out would at least 90%. And what was interesting was those who stayed in touch with me were the one who consistently, like every month or every quarter, would check in to say hello or express gratitude or give me an update. And when I actually had those kind of openings open, like they were the ones who got reached out first. But what I'm hearing from you is that it's not just networking when you need to find a job, but it's long-term strategic networking and relationship building, as you never know when opportunities may come your way down the road.
100%, everybody. And what I say is this on LinkedIn: make friends, not connections. Why? Because Diana and I are friends. Are we friends in the chat, everybody? Let's be friends. Okay, I'm serious. Like, honestly,
Make friends, not connections. I love it.
Right? Because at the end of the day, we're all friends. We're all here to help one another. This is why this Career Relaunch Summit is happening. Everybody, I want you, each and every one of you, to send Diana a message saying thank you. This is the first thank you. I'm serious. Please send her a message. Please send her an email. Flood her inbox. Say thank you to her. Can we get a hashtag thank you, Diana, in the chat, please?
Oh, that's too kind. That really touches my heart. I think that honestly, I was going to say, I was so touched when within a week, so many of the speakers said yes. Like within a week, I lined up speakers and the schedule lined up perfectly. And I just feel really guided and supported. And then the last week, what was amazing about it is I've been meeting new coaches, career coaches, business coaches, because they've been seeing everything going around on LinkedIn who want to help. People want to promote it as well. Mm-hmm. And that's what's been amazing, where I've been building these new relationships, new friends as well, because of the summit there.
You see, and we all want to help each other. I'm telling you, please reach out if you all ever need anything. Add me on TikTok. By the way, our TikTok group, 60,000 on TikTok in 6 days. I actually got on Yahoo News yesterday. Randomly, I didn't even know. I don't dance. I give advice.
What's up with TikTok? Can you tell me a little bit about this? I'm not on it yet. I know Madeline's on it. Like she has a great channel. What's up with TikTok? What are you doing there?
TikTok is awesome to find little clips in regards to like how you can get into your career. And that's what I try to do specifically for our TikTok for consultings, like give little itty bitty strategies in regards to how you get into your career. Because I know a LinkedIn post can specifically, you can find a lot of different content in there, but I think the little bits and pieces are really awesome for you all to see. So, I mean, I would try out TikTok. Go look at some of our videos.
Check it out. Hey, since we still have a bit more time, I want to ask, because I know we've been talking a lot about networking. So now that we developed the relationship, we move forward in the process. What are some like your top tips on how to stand out in interviews?
Yes. So I obviously have my posters, right? You don't have to have the excess and have all these posters, right? What I'd recommend everybody, get a poster. No one's. Sorry. Why I tell you all this, like these unconventional strategies, is because like I've done these. So, get a poster that you like, put it in your backdrop, and in your video interview, see if the other person reacts to it and is like, "Oh, you have a nice poster." What you do is you're going to be talking about your poster for the first 5 minutes, and that breaks the ice. That seriously breaks the ice. It's crazy. Like this is how I get comfortable in interviews. That's one part. During the interview, make sure, of course, to obviously structure your answers. For your tell me about yourself, I think the mistake people make is they just talk about work. I think you should talk about some work, how your relevant experiences, but what makes you, you. So what you like to do outside of work, what you like to do for fun. You know what I mean? So that's after the interview, ask questions in regards to their story, ask questions in regards to next steps in the interview process and the timeline. I think what happens is a lot of people don't know what the timeline is. So make sure to ask about the timeline and then go at them on LinkedIn. Like add them on LinkedIn, right? Because then let's say you don't get the job. Hopefully you do get the job. Let's say you don't. Imagine you're creating content like Deanna. Imagine you're creating content like Simran here. Shout out to Simran. She actually got a job. She's part of One Consulting community, so she's awesome. Imagine you are in their network and they're like, I remember Simran. Let me go ask her if she's interested in this job. That is how you do it.
I love that. Amazing. Oh, this is so good. Is this resonating with you guys? Tell me, like, what are your key learnings here? So my last question is, what's your best advice for one to manage a successful career and job search in 2021?
Yeah, what I'd say is don't be afraid of failure. You know why? Because failure never happens if you don't stop trying, right? So don't be afraid of people not responding to your messages. Don't be afraid of companies rejecting you for specific positions. At the end of the day, I always stress this all the time. How many jobs do you all need, everybody? Tell me in the chat, how many jobs do you need? Uno, one. You need one job. You need one person to believe in you. You need one person to get your foot in the door, and that one person will make the difference in your career. So be sure to reach out to people. It's okay if they don't respond. It's totally fine. I personally, I'm sometimes really bad at sending messages back because I get hundreds of them per day, but I try my best because I know for a fact that if I take 15, 30 seconds out of my day to respond to someone, that could mean something for their lives and get them into their career years to come.
What's your strategy on managing the volume? Like, I know you have a huge, following as well. How do you manage your time and responses?
Yeah. So what I literally have an Excel sheet. I mean, you guys can use like a CRM, but I personally use an Excel sheet. The reason why I use an Excel sheet, small story, Diana, was because I know Austin talked about the VVP, but when I was going for roles, they kept asking me about Excel experience. So I was like, why don't I just go build out my own reach out sheet and put it on Excel? And then utilize my Excel experience. So I have it all on my Excel sheet. I actually have it right here. The name, position, the company, the date reached out to, if they responded or not, how did we meet? Hit me up, everybody, if you want this Excel sheet. I'll give it to you after you send me a message. So that's how I do it and stay in touch with people.
Amazing. It's what Austin talked about, having a system, having a process, right? That's what you have. You have this consistent system. And what I'm hearing from you, Jonathan, is you are intentionally building your relationships. It's not just for finding a job, but you are doing it because you want to and you care as well. And this is why I really admire about your work, and why also I see that you build a huge following, is that you're really putting yourself out there to give as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
I know. Oh, no, yeah, of course. And I was going to say, everybody, like, we are here to help each and every one of you. 2021 is your year. Can we get that in the chat? Say 2021 is my year. Screenshot that and put it on your wall. Why I say this is because this is what I actually do. I send messages to people who I look up to, and I say, hey, whoever, I'm going to do this year. Let's make it happen. And then I go look back at it, and I'm like, did I accomplish it? Yes or no?
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. Speaking of screenshot, I forgot to do this entire thing. Can I get a screenshot photo with you? I want to get a screenshot picture here. I totally forgot to do it with everyone here. So
only if everybody else smiles on YouTube with me.
Smile. Awesome. Oh my God. 2021 is my year. Amazing. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I wish you a happy holidays. And we're going to have Hannah to come up next. I'm going to take a 25-second break there. Okay. Cheers.
All right, everybody. Have a good day.
Hello. Welcome back to the Career Relaunch Summit. I'm your host, Diana Y.K. Chan. I am so delighted that you're here. So next up, we have Hannah Morgan. She's the job search strategist for CareerShepherd.net. Her topic is on It's Time to Do More to Visually Showcase Your Value. Hannah is a nationally recognized author, the infographic resume, and speaker on job search strategies. She's a past LinkedIn top voice in job search and careers. She's dedicated to educating professionals on how to maneuver through today's job search process. Her work has been featured in Forbes, USA Today, Money Magazine, and Huffington Post. So are you guys ready to welcome Hannah? Give me your favorite emojis there. Hello, Hannah. Welcome.
Hey, Diana. Thanks so much for having me. Gosh, Jonathan had that energy and that positive vibe, and 2021 is our year, right?
I love it. Isn't that amazing? He totally raised the vibration energy here. I love it. So Hannah, I know we've been following each other's work probably at least a year now.
You were really helpful. You've been so helpful. I remember I was looking for advice on presentation platforms, and you were awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I know. I remember this year I've been following a lot of your work because you were sharing, I guess, like weekly like newsletters of you're curating the content and sharing like where companies are hiring, and I've been sharing that with others as well. So I really appreciate that. I'm so glad you're here to talk to us today. So before we dive into your topic, we want to get to know more about you. So what's one thing most people don't know about you?
So they may, if they've read my Twitter bio, they know this, but if they don't, I'm an introvert, which really, I get my energy from being alone and thinking in my own head. But I've learned how, you got to be extroverted sometimes. So, but at heart, I'm an introvert.
And what's your superpower?
I'm very analytical. I tend to love to dive into data and think about things tying back to my being an introvert. But yeah, data is my thing. My jam. I like
Nice.
data.
Data, nice. And what gives you joy? What fulfills you?
I will have to say at this point in my life, my family gives me joy. I love living vicariously, but not as a helicopter parent through my 2 teenage boys.
Oh, nice. And what's been the biggest lesson learned for 2020?
So the lesson learned, and we're still learning lots of lessons, but I would say my major lesson is never take anything for granted.
Yeah, that's so important. You never take anything for granted. Like looking at the small things, right? Like the counting our blessings and finding the
Yeah.
silver lining as well, right?
Yeah.
That's so
Well,
important.
yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you that my son, my oldest son, it was a senior in high school last year. And so he spent his whole senior year locked down. And he missed out on that whole experience of being a senior in high school, which is when you have the most fun, right? That's what you look forward to. And his graduation was different, and just and no senior prom and all of those things that he missed out on. And it made me as the parent think, oh my gosh, right? Nothing is a sure thing. There are no guarantees in this life. And so the other question I was asking people is, if we knew last year at this time that we were going to be locked down and that 2020 was going to be the way it was, would we have lived our life differently right now? And I think a lot of people would say,
Yeah,
their family I haven't seen in over a year. There are trips that I wanted to take. So I think that the lesson learned really is don't put off what we need to do, what we want to do, because, and that really applies to these job seekers now too, right? This has been a really tough time to job search. But it also has given you the freedom and flexibility to spend time with your family, to work on projects around the house, to do those things that you've always wanted to do. And that's the blessing. That is the silver lining to what we're going through.
Well, what we were talking about earlier this morning is, this has also been a time for a lot of people to reset, right? To reflect on what is it that truly want, what matters to them. We heard a lot of people earlier, like, wanting to pivot careers or starting a business. Actually, in fact, I got the data yesterday from Andrew Seaman that in the US, in terms of number of people who start new businesses, increased by 40% compared to last year. So even though, yes, a lot of businesses have been impacted, but there's been also a lot more people who started a new business because of all these impacts there.
And so I'm old enough to know, I lived through the financial crisis of 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I lived through that, and we saw the same exact thing happen then too. There were a lot of people who found themselves downsized and starting their own businesses. So that is one of the wonderful benefits, outcomes of a mass set of unemployment, which is great. I thank goodness that we have that option, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to hear from the audience, like what has been some of your biggest lessons learned for 2020 here? So let's feel free to type into that. And before that, let's dive into your topic, Hannah, on it's time to do more, to do more to visually showcase your value. So my first question is, what can job seekers do that's different and eye-catching? So essentially, how to stand out.
Okay, so going back to data, right? Visuals like charts, graphs, color design, photos, those increase readership by 80%. So I want to take a step back and ask people, how many of you love writing a resume? In the chat, tell us that you love resume writing, because I think the answer is no. Right? We are not trained in how to write a resume. We don't know how to do that. It's painful. And it doesn't even reflect who we really are. So why do we keep relying on that document? What if, and the question I want all job seekers really to ask themselves, right? So, everyone's saying, no, I don't like it, right?
No one likes it.
So here's the question I want you to answer. If you wanted to prove that you could do the job that you're applying for, that you're interested in, what would you send the hiring manager instead? And that's going to piggyback a little bit on what Austin was talking about in his value
VVP, yep, value validation project.
Validation project, right? It's very similar to that, but I'm going to say, let's take that to LinkedIn, and let's take that to your LinkedIn profile. So in your LinkedIn profile, consider it a portfolio. What samples of work do you have that prove you can do those things that you say you can do? If you say you're a great writer, you should include a sample of your writing. If you say you're great at mastering Excel data analysis, then create a detailed analysis of data using Excel and post that in your LinkedIn. Let's say if you say you're great at presenting, then you better include a video of yourself giving a presentation. And if you need to go do a mock-up with your phone and camera in the dining room, that's great, right? It doesn't need to be something that if you don't have it, go create it. If you say that you're great at doing social media, then you better have a link to your social media analytics page for your personal account, right? So these are all things that are visual proof of all of those things that we say we're good at doing, and those visuals get embedded into our LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, it's the proof and credibility. So I had a client this year. She's in communications and content marketing, and she's a writer as well. Like, she's been actually doing a lot of ghostwriting for companies, but she didn't really have her own portfolio. So I actually encouraged her to start building her own portfolio, building her own brand, and she started writing articles where she pitched to other publications or media, and that helped her build her portfolio that she linked back to LinkedIn in the feature section. And that helped her land a job quickly because she was showcasing her value, her work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's such a great example, right? So often I give the advice that I give, and I don't know if people sort of actually implement it. I worked with a woman briefly on helping her redefine an infographic that described the value she delivered. And she's posted that on LinkedIn, and she's gotten massive amounts of likes and interest. She posted it as a status update. And so her introduction was, the post part of it was, I've outlined below in this image some of the things that I am really great at doing and what I want to do next in my search for a new career. And so there was that visuals, to represent that. And definitely people were commenting on that. It's very shareable, right? So anybody that in her network now can share that with their network.
Yeah. Now, what's your opinion on, because infographic resumes, like I've seen that even when I was recruiting at Google, this was like almost 10 years ago, the balance between having that versus also a content rich type of resume, the traditional resume.
It's always two, right? You need both. You can't have just an infographic resume. The infographic resume is so great all over social, right? So that should go into your featured section of LinkedIn because it's a picture, right? It's something that people won't find anywhere else. It's unique, right? But as far as applying for a job and all that stuff, you have to have that text-based resume. We just know that. But so when you're networking, if you're networking with somebody, even via video, go ahead, send them a copy of your infographic resume along with your text-based resume, because I guarantee you they're going to be much more interested in that infographic than they are the standard text resume, because people don't see a lot of those.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is the first impression, right? This is marketing. So guys, type in #marketing, because what you're referring to, the infographic resume, is that first impression, that visual aspect of it, to get that, like your foot in the door, get their attention, grab their attention. It's the hook. And then from there, you give them the actual, resume that showcase the details of your work and value and accomplishments there.
Yeah. One guy I know brought his, he didn't even bring it. He had an interview and he had posted an infographic resume somewhere out there. Maybe it was in his LinkedIn profile. And when he showed up at the interview back in the day, pre-COVID, right, he walked into this conference room and everybody had a printed version of his infographic resume. And he's like, hey, how'd you get that? They're like, we love this. This is great. This is the, he got the job. But people love, they either hate or they love it, but I would think the majority of people will respect and value that. And this was a government job that was really, people always say, well, what industries are open to this? And I think it's really not necessarily an industry thing. But this was it was for a government agency. It was, they're very conservative, right?
Yeah.
So
it's getting creative. What I'm hearing, it's really being creative because that shows that you're thoughtful as well. I had a long time ago, this was at least 5 years ago, there's a student and he wanted to stand out. He wanted to get an internship internationally, like in Hong Kong. He created, that's back when Facebook timeline came out. He created his own resume, like through the Facebook timeline. He tweeted it to the CEO of the advertising agency and he got an interview the next day and he got hired.
So how many years ago was this?
At least 5 years ago. This is when it just came out.
So back in 2010, 11, when the job market was really tanking, we saw a lot of people doing sort of these very creative marketing. Like there was a person who created a Pinterest profile resume and she applied for a job at Pinterest. And we also see right now that guy who worked at Sherwin-Williams, right? And created those TikTok videos, and Sherwin-Williams ended up firing him because they said he was working on their clock with their products and blah, 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 blah. It turns out that's not really the case. But it wasn't a direct competitor that picked up, but a smaller paint company that picked him up because they heard about his story. They were fans of his TikTok. So you may not get you that exact right dream job, but it definitely gets you on the radar within your industry or with people who are interested in that. So we can't make things go viral, but we can get on the radar.
You can get on the radar. Yeah, that's true, right? It's that visibility. Going back to it's also the visibility and the attention there. I love that. Any other tips on how to draw more attention to the visuals created? I love this. And I want to hear from you guys too. What are some of your ideas or what can you start doing? Because in this, what I'm hearing right now in this session, it's like a brainstorming session of what can I do differently to stand out through the visuals I would create. And when we talk about visuals, it's not just for the resume. It could be, and we'll talk more about in videos, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, or whatever that is. So I want to also ask you guys, what can you start doing to get more creative, especially in such a competitive market there?
And it's not just being creative, because sometimes people think, oh, I'm not creative. But then if I ask them, what do you have that proves you can do the job? Right? Mm-hmm. That's really what this is all about. Proof. What proof do you have? Right? Yeah. And so the other really important thing to note as we're sort of talking about this, I'm jumping all over the place. Sorry, Diana, is that, LinkedIn we think of as the primary place where recruiters go to look and source talent. Yes, absolutely. But that's not the only place that they're going. They really have expanded onto other social networks. We saw a huge increase in Snapchat and Instagram. Recruiters are going, 37% of recruiters use Instagram to look for candidates. And Instagram is what? It's all photos. It's all visual and video. So if you have, and the thing about Instagram, and I love talking about this because I think we're talking to sort of people who are already there anyway, you have a huge network of people that are following you there. Do they know what you do? Do they know you're looking for work? Maybe you can intermingle a little bit of your work stuff in there because they can help. So create that video, create a swipe of 10 slides of images that demonstrate who you are. Why would we not do that? Snapchat, 13% of recruiters are using Snapchat and 7% are using TikTok right now, according to job
wow. 7%. That's really interesting. So for me, I really like when I think about some visuals as well. Like I really like things around like creating presentations, like say on SlideShare, Prezi, Canva slides. You can add that slide or your story. Essentially, this is like telling a story through these slides, and then you can also upload it to like LinkedIn as well. It's a great visual to stand out in your feature section there.
I love that, because I think for a lot of people, I want to liberate people who feel restricted by their resume, right? And I think that's 99% of the population, right? So what you can't put on a resume, you can put in a presentation, one thought per slide, right? So it could be 30, 40 slides.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. People just keep flipping through and learning, and they'll stop when they're not interested anymore. But yeah, create that slide deck that tells the story, what problem you solve, how you do it uniquely, and who benefits. And then throw in some of those things that really motivate you, your interests outside of work.
Yeah.
I think it's really, for those that are limited, it's a great opportunity. And if you never use it, that's fine. At least you went through the thought process of creating it, which may re-energize you.
Yeah, that's great. So we see Adrian here. He said, I love your energy, enthusiasm, creative job search ideas, Hannah. Great to see our colleague here. Awesome. So we have a question here from the audience is where are people getting their graphics? Fiverr, or I get it from Canva. Like I have a subscription, so I have it from Canva.
Right. I'm hoping that everybody here knows about Canva, but that's one of my favorite go-to tools. Canva is awesome. Either, I'm cheap, so I don't really pay for much. Even in their templates, if I don't find an image, a picture, a graphic that I like in the free part of Canva, then I'm over to Pixabay. I use Pixabay all the time, which is attribution-free, royalty-free photographs and images that you can use. I use Pixabay all the time. So almost all the graphics I use come from images, pictures that come from Pixabay. But, Visme is another really great tool. And, they're all sort of evolving and trying to do more. So one of the great things about Visme, like Canva, is that they have slide decks. They have, layovers for layouts, I'm not using the right term, for video that you can insert in there. So they're doing all kinds of really great things at Visme. And Venngage is another tool that I've used, and it's great for creating infographics.
That's great.
But here's the deal: if you don't have infographic skills and you want to create an infographic resume, spell out the details of what you're looking for and go to Fiverr or Upwork or find somebody who can do an infographic resume for you. Don't try and do it yourself, because if you don't have design skills, that's probably worse than trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of tools out there, right? Templates as well that you can get. The other is like creating videos, right? Like you can also use videos to get creative. Actually, that's my next question. Actually, before we go into that, any other tools to use to create visuals? We talked about Canva and all these other tools you mentioned here.
Visme, Venngage are two really good ones too for infographics. So those are the ones that I would use. And I'm always about free. Yeah.
Awesome. So my next question is, what about using videos? And what about LinkedIn stories, Twitter stories, Instagram stories, Facebook stories?
Stories?
What about TikTok?
Well, so here's the thing, and we're all jumping on Google is the #1 search engine. Right, besides, or did I say YouTube is the #1 search engine? So whenever anyone has a problem, they're going to YouTube and they're finding the video, right? So people are turning to video for solutions. And so all of these other places, and video is rising in popularity. So everybody loves video, except for us who have to create it, right? But people love video, but you don't have to be on video. It doesn't have to be your mugshot. You could be you giving a demo of how to do something on tech, in technology, or it could be slides on a page with just your voice, So I think there's so many ways to do video that don't require you actually being on camera, because I don't think a lot of people not everybody's comfortable on camera. And if you're not comfortable on camera, it's really going to come across and you're going to look stilted. It's worth giving it a shot. But don't feel that you have to be on camera, because those stories really offer an opportunity for you to get in front of more people beyond your network. And I think that's part of the game that we're trying to play here. How can I let more people know about what I do and what problems I solve and why I'm great at what I do, right?
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing I love this, because it is really putting on that marketing hat, like really imagining yourself, you are the product. And you as a product, what is your marketing campaign to put yourself out there, to increase your brand awareness, your visibility, so that you can attract more opportunities. So what can you do? Like, we have like the resume tool and the LinkedIn tool, but what else can you do essentially to have a greater reach? And how do you really stand out through your own style? Like, for me, as an example, like even preparing for this summit, I'm all about branding. So you can probably see I have like the background, like the music, the blue color. Like, I give a lot of thought to that. And that's just like who I am as my brand. And so I think just giving someone extra thought of that can really help you stand out as a job seeker there.
And so here's the thing, like, I think we can take the lead from our favorite brands, right? If you really want to work for a company, watch and see how they're branding themselves. Or if somebody really respects Diana, and we should all be praising Diana because she's got the marketing package stuff all figured out. Follow what she's doing and adapt it for your own personal use, right? So, and I think that's where Canva really can come and help handy, because it really helps you establish your brand kit so that you're using a consistent feel for colors and all that stuff, and things are templated and they're in packages, and it makes it easier. But follow the lead of people that are successful, that you respect and value, and emulate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hannah, I want to move into talking about something else. I know we've been talking a lot about the visuals as well, and I know you have expertise in many areas. What are some, maybe, I guess, your other strategies that you have to offer for job seekers in really being more successful in 2021? What are some of the strategies you can try out?
So I love listening to Austin, because he's so on track with everything that he's saying. Like, it's awesome, great stuff, right? And Jonathan was great too, right? Here's the one thing that I'm going to be driving home, the point that I want to drive home, period, right? Everybody can say it. We're all saying it. That should help the job seekers, right? But my whole belief is, if you have you have to start your job search by understanding where you want to go. Who are the companies that you think you might want to work for? That starts the process, because that drives all of the activity that you're going to do. It helps you determine who you're going to talk to. It helps you determine how much energy you're going to spend. If you want to work for a company, you're much more energized to make those difficult outreach emails and follow through on conversations, because you really want to work there. And the goal is not to be chasing jobs, but to be chasing people. Those people are people who work inside companies where you want to work. And that should be the strategy that drives your action.
I love that. And you know what? That's what a lot of people have been saying today. It's the clarity. And I love to say to have your target ROIs, your roles, organizations, and industries. Create that list of what your target is. And then from there, what Jonathan and Austin was saying as well is find the people who work at those target companies, who could be your advocates, who could influence the process there. That's part of that process. It's really putting that work. And maybe I can share a story. Like, one thing I love talking about, because of my recruiting background, for me, to fill one role, like having worked at agency side and corporate side of recruiting, I know that for me to fill one role, I need to screen at least 1,000 profiles. Right? Going on LinkedIn or even resumes, I need to screen at least 1,000 profiles to find my top 50 to 100 people to reach out to, in order for me to present my top 5 to 10 people. And so this is a similar strategy for job seekers, I think, is to go find those people, the funnel. You're absolutely right. You said that. It's the funnel. You first have to put in that work by identifying what's your criteria of people you want to find, and then go do that research, which is what Austin was saying, going on LinkedIn on how to find these people. And then from there, you narrow it down. You do the outreach. You have thoughtful messages. You have the call that will then lead to the interviews there. It's that methodology.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think one of the things that we really have to help people understand, and like you said, you didn't hire anybody that applied online or came through the portal, right? Well, one. Okay, one. But that's the reality of what recruiters are dealing with. So everybody has to understand the power of a referral, right? And why getting there early in the process, before there's actually a job available, will really help get you that referral for when there is a right job available. My dad was a recruiter, and he did big placement of executives on Wall Street. And one day he went on vacation. He said, "Check my mail for me while I'm gone." So I went to his business post office and checked his mail, and there was like stacks of really like of resumes and these big envelopes, letter size envelopes, and there were like hundreds of them that came to his in his mailbox back in the day before we were all in email. And he called in. I said, "What do you want me to do with all of these resumes?" He's like, "Burn them. I already know all the people I need to know."
Yeah.
Light bulb moment, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So guys, is this resonating? Tell me, what are you learning here? Give me some likes and emojis as well. Hannah, I want to ask you, like, for those who are either looking to make that change or have limited experience, what can they do to really stand out or get a foot in the door to the company they want to work for?
I think the more they know about the field, their desired industry, the occupation, the better they're going to be presenting themselves, right? The more in the know they sound, the better a candidate they come across. And so I would hope that for those companies and those roles that you're really interested in pursuing, if you know what you want to do, then you want to learn everything you can about what a day in that life of that job is like. I want you to talk to as many people as you can who hold that job, so that you can learn from them what the good and the bad is, what they think that you might need to work on, what skills they value, what's happening to that occupation in the future, what are the trends on the horizon, and then do the same kind of in-depth research about talking to people who work inside those target companies. So the more information you have, listen to, investor calls, whatever you can do to learn what that company is, because at the end of the day, you want to present yourself as a viable candidate, but you also want to learn more about that job, because it's a two-way street, the interview, right? You should be learning about them and they should be learning about you. And you want to be able to hold up your end of the conversation by asking decent questions that are not beyond, well, tell me what a day in the life is. You should already know what that is. That's not a question I want you asking in the interview, because you've talked with 5 or 6 people. And if they're telling you that the work is grueling, you can say, based on my conversations with people, they say that the work is pretty challenging. Help me understand what that means for you and when you're looking for your next candidate.
Yeah. You know what I'm hearing, guys? It's preparation, research. I want you guys to type in that hashtag preparation, hashtag research, hashtag above and beyond. This is what I'm hearing. That's the consistent story, the messaging we've been hearing here. And I'm going to share a quick story as well, because it really ties in what you're saying. Is a few years ago, I had a client who wanted to make the change and pivot from a small boutique advertising agency to a big tech company. And he hired me to help him out, to support him. He created that target ROI list, and he reached out to over 100 people. I was like, he was super eager. He had about a dozen interviews, 12 to 14 interviews there, right, out of the 100. So not everyone's going to respond. And out of that, you got gained good insights, what you said. And then because I also saw that work that he had put into it, I really saw potential in him. This is someone who had like limited experience, about 5 years experience. And so I ended up referring him to someone in my network at a big telco company, because I saw potential in him. And even though he didn't have experience, but he showed that he did the research about the industry, about the company. In fact, he went to go visit all the retail stores of all the competitors of the telco companies to get insights of their plans and all that. And so I referred him. The person I referred him to referred him to the manager, got the interview. He got a job offer on the spot right after his case study interview. And it's the above and beyond. Even though he didn't have the industry experience, or he didn't really have the analytics experience or the marketing experience per se, he stood out as well through showcasing he had potential, that he was proactive, that he was persistent as well, to differentiate.
Yeah.
So this is what we're up and talking
about. It's hashtag above and beyond.
Above and beyond. Yeah. This is amazing. So Hannah, any final advice for our audience here? Let's raise their lives here, guys.
I want people to know that this too will pass, right? Use this time to do the self-reflection, to invest in yourself and your well-being. Keep the job search going. It will happen. Just believe, right? My little sign, believe. It will happen.
That it will happen. Yes, that is so amazing. I love this. This is resonating. Thank you so much, Hannah. Well, thank you so much. This So good. I'm so glad we finally got to connect. I know. We've been chatting on LinkedIn, and what's been amazing actually with this summit is a lot of the speakers, I've been connecting with them through online on LinkedIn. Like, this is what we talk about, networking, relationship building. And a lot of them are like my first time talking to you like on screen here.
Well, I feel like I know you because I've watched so many of your webinars and I see you. So I'm like, oh, Diana, I know her. Like, we're buds.
I love it. All right. I want to take a screenshot picture with you. I totally forgot to do that this morning with everyone. So let me do one with you here. So let's look at the camera. Smile. Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Hannah. I want to wish you happy holidays and a great new year. And I will be in touch.
Hope and help. That's what you're here for. You're giving people hope and you're giving them help. So thank you, Diana.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, wasn't that amazing? We heard from 3 amazing speakers where we talked about networking, LinkedIn, resume visuals, about marketing, giving you some really practical strategies and actionable advice that you can take immediately. Okay, I want to hear from you. What are some of the 3 key things you're going to start doing to prepare you for 2021? Share it with me. I want to hear that. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back and I'm going to play some like holiday music for you guys. We're going to have like a 20-minute break here, about 30 minutes, a 20-minute break. I'll play some music and I'll come back. And then we're going to start back with my friend Betty Kempa, where we're going to talk about building a 6-figure coaching business. So if you are an experienced professional and you're passionate about people and you're thinking about building your own business, this session is for you. And then afterwards, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to talk to my friend Anna, who's going to talk about specific LinkedIn strategies on how to stand out on LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about networking and branding there. Okay, so I hope you guys stick around. I'm just going to take a little break here. Feel free to do a little bit of that stretch break as well. So I'm going to be reading some of your comments here. Okay, so you don't need to close your screen. You can just take a little stretch break and I'll be back. I'll be playing some music. I hope it works because I'm just showing this. It's a longer video, but if not, don't worry. We will be back here. I'm not closing the screen. We're just taking a bit of stretch break. Okay. Let me just read a few here. What I'm seeing here, client testimonials. Yes, people are going to get some testimonials. Networking. Awesome. Do a portfolio. Awesome. What else here? All right. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so I will be back around 3:50 p.m. Eastern time there. Okay.
Snow is falling and the cold wind is blowing hard. I'm locked inside tonight, but my heart is somewhere else. I'm thinking of you, babe, and all your crazy ways. I miss you more right now. It must be these holidays. You know you're my everything, the only present I want. And oh, what I give to be with you under the mistletoe. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Oh, what I'd give to have you here, my dear. We could sing and laugh about our wonderful year. I can see it now, yeah, your lips stained from the wine, and that sweet smile you have, your hand in mine. You know you're my everything, the only present I want. Oh, what I'd give to be with you under the mistletoe. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. I'm dreaming you home for the holidays. I'm dreaming you home right now. I'm dreaming you home because you're all I really want. I'm dreaming you home tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight.
Oh, no sound. I just realized I did not have sound. Can you guys hear me now? Can you give me the emoji? Oh my goodness. This is what happens when you don't have people helping you. This is what happens. Okay, I unmuted myself. Oh my goodness, I've been like telling my story here. No one heard me. Okay, let me quickly catch you up on what I just shared here. This is what happens when you don't have a team of people supporting you. I forgot to unmute myself. Okay, we're back live. Welcome back. I'm your host, Diana YK Chan, and we're going to have Betty Kempa starting shortly here. I was just sharing quickly that next year is going to be my 10 year in my business. And, I started my business a week after I got laid off 10 years ago in January 2011. And that's really what propelled me to, in my career, after working a year at Google as a recruiter, in learning how to differentiate as top talent. So I do everything from career clarity to branding, resumes, LinkedIn, networking, and interviews. But I would say what really my favorite part is really around the branding, positioning, and the interview work. I love doing a lot of the interview coaching and helping people master their messages there. And interestingly, how I met Kempa, which I'll introduce her soon, but Betty here is, I've been actually thinking about also doing work in the business coaching space. I was thinking of pivoting into business coaching and helping people to start their business, to help them with branding and positioning. But when the pandemic hit, I decided to stick with what I'm doing, just because also there's a lot of people who need the help there. So anyhow, so I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. And, what I'm really excited about next is I wanted to, bring Betty on here with us, because she has a wealth of experience in corporate. She started her own coaching business, specializing in career coaching. And then this year also pivoted into business coaching. So Betty Kempa is a business coach for coaches at Betty Kempa Coaching. Her specialty is helping you build a six-figure coaching business. She specializes in helping corporate professionals repackage their expertise into a six-figure coaching practice using her signature methodology, the 5 C's of building a six-figure coaching business. She's a member and contributor of the Forbes Coaches Council, an invitation-only community for leading business, executive, and career coaches. She's been featured in the Muse, JobScan, Thrive Global, UW-Madison, SciComm, The Happily Weekly, UpJourney, and numerous podcasts. So are you guys ready? Let's welcome Betty Kempa. Give me your favorite emojis here. Click like as well. Hello, Betty.
Hi. Woohoo! This is so fun. I love this.
Welcome. I love your colorful shirt there.
Thank you. I figured I know you're usually very colorful with your, we tend to match. So I was like, what might Diana be wearing today? Yes. How are you?
Betty, I'm doing so well. I feel so happy. I was just saying, this is my 9th interview of the day. I've started since 9 o'clock here.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah, a few more interviews, but it feels so good. I love the engagement. The engagement has been amazing here. We've been having some great lessons. We've been using hashtag keywords for a certain lesson so that people what we're talking about throughout. I love it.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. I was just saying that I've been getting throughout the day. I've had the support from my husband and my friend Simrat in moderating the chat room. Right now, the next hour, I'm doing this solo. So I'll be looking at you and there.
That's a lot. Yeah. I haven't done what you do with these webinars. So I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I'm hearing a little echo. I don't know if you guys hear echo. I hear my sound when I'm talking right now. Are you guys okay with the audio?
Let me plug in my headset. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, maybe it's okay. Because I'm hearing myself.
Hold, please.
There is an echo. Yes, there is an echo. Okay, so let's see, Betty, where
is this
headset
better?
Oh, much better. Yes,
okay.
I don't hear my voice now.
Yay.
Yes. Okay, I'm so glad we talked. Yes, before we dive in. Awesome. Okay, all right, good. Headset works without the echo. Amazing. So Betty, before we dive in the topic, I would love to get to know, for the audience to get to know more about you. I love Betty's work. You and I connected, I think, probably a year ago, and we just really love each other, support each other's work, the methodology, your style, and you and I have been supporting each other in just behind the scenes of how we think about our business, how we grow our business as well. So can you really start off with what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Oh my gosh. Ooh, this is a good question. Oh my gosh, there's so much. I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to mind, when I first got out of college, I was working at a title company, and I was getting into the real career, life. I quit my job and I moved abroad by myself to Costa Rica, and I just lived my life. I lived it up. I had the
Ooh,
time of my life until I ran out of money, and then you know, I headed back. But maybe that's
nice,
something. Yeah.
nice, nice. And what fulfills you? What gives you joy?
Oh my gosh. So much. I mean, obviously family. I know that's a generic thing to say, but especially with everything going on in the universe, definitely it's family. It's talking to my mom over the phone. I like to do that every day. But secondary to that, it's honestly business coaching. I mean, that's why I left the corporate world. That's why I settled into this niche, is because it's what I do in my spare time. I'm reading these books, I'm listening to these podcasts. I found myself talking about it all the time. So it lights me up. It makes me want to rip off the sheets on a Monday.
Yeah, you're so passionate about it. And I see that through your content as well. I love it. What's been the biggest lesson learned for 2020?
Oh my gosh. Oh, these are so good. These questions. Oh gosh. Okay. I think, well, a couple. One for sure is gratitude. Um, Gratitude also for my business, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
My job as a virtual coach saved my income. Um, you know, Millions of people lost their jobs this year. And as an owner of a virtual business, I honestly wasn't really affected. I kept kind of chugging along. So I am grateful that I took this leap. And also, my wish is that more corporate professionals would realize that security, right? The security that we think we have, it's often an illusion.
Yeah.
And when you take a business in your own hands, especially a virtual business, sky's the limit. So I am grateful that I redefined security for myself, because it saved me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great to hear. I'm curious to hear from the audience if any of you have either been pondering about starting a business or started business. Type in hashtag business there. This is a good segue, Betty. Can you maybe share with us, like, what's your pivot story of how you got into coaching?
Yeah. So before I moved into coaching, I was a corporate communications leader at different Fortune 500 companies. I would say after about 10 years or so in corporate America, I started to realize it's like that whisper that something was off. And I always like to say that I felt like a square peg in a round hole in the corporate world. So something was off. I didn't know what. I knew I wanted freedom, freedom to run my own business. I also knew that my favorite part of my day in my corporate job was coaching direct reports. Like when I had that moment in between meetings and this and that, that was where I felt alive. So I did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of research. I took a lot of assessments, right? This is
Mhm.
where the career stuff comes in. Like, what am I supposed to do? I didn't even know coaching was a thing at first. And the more research I did, the more I started to uncover, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be coaching. As soon as I found that out, lo and behold, I got laid off from that corporate job that I
Mm.
thought was so secure. And so I took that as a sign from the universe that this is it, right? Go for it. And that was really an enlightening moment for me, that I can redefine what it means to feel secure in my career. So that's really where I went for it. That's where I went out and got certified as a coach. And I will say too, not everybody was along for the ride at first, right?
Mhm.
I mean, my dad, who I love and adore, a successful corporate HR executive, was like, "You're doing what? What are you doing?"
Yeah.
My tax accountant was like, "Wait." She's like, "What? Why would you do this?" So I really had to, find my tribe, other coaches, and lock arms. And I had to overcome this limiting belief that a lot of people have out there, that it's not possible to have a career you love, for me, which was coaching, and replace your corporate income. So I really dove into it head first.
I love it. Guys, type in hashtag find your tribe. This morning we were talking about having risk averse, maybe family members or loved ones or friends who are concerned about, making a leap to start a business. And what you just said here, find your tribe. When you find your tribe, that's when you're really going to move into what you really want to do there. So Betty, who should start a coaching business?
Ooh, you're hitting me with all the good ones. It's funny. I did a post on LinkedIn on the top 10 ways to know if you were meant to coach. I'll give you a couple. I mean,
I said yes to all of them. I said yes to all of them.
Right? Like if you read this, you'll know. So way number one is if you feel called to serve. If you feel a calling to serve, so you don't feel fulfilled or whole unless you're serving others. This is like an innate calling that we have. So that's one. Another one, I don't know if anyone's familiar with, probably our Strengths Finder.
Yes.
If you're a maximizer, if you are naturally able to help people step more fully into themselves, reach their potential and achieve their goals. So if that's like a natural part of you, you're probably supposed to be a coach. If you purpose, if deep down you were meant for something more than kind of just being a cog in a wheel, like there's something calling you, and you have a purpose to fulfill, you probably meant to be a coach. Oftentimes what I see is, especially with corporate professionals, they have untapped potential. So likely there's some untapped creative juices or superpowers within them that are not being fully utilized in that corporate role. And then another one, I'll just share one more is freedom. We talk about like values, like what are your values? If you feel stifled, being micromanaged or under someone else's thumb, if you really desire, when I say free in how you spend your time and your energy. Right? Like these are some clues that you need to examine.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from the audience. Any of these clues resonate with you if you're thinking of starting a coaching business? Any of these clues? I know for me, what you just said here, for me, one was I love empowering people. So that's the clue for me with the coaching. But for me also, from a value standpoint, it is the freedom, the autonomy, the impact that I get to make. And that's one of the main reasons why I left corporate was I really wanted to more have that autonomy and freedom there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's it's night and day when you start your own business. It's like it can be a blessing and a curse, right? You have so much freedom. It's almost like, oh, where do I start? So it's important to almost recreate some structure. But there's nothing like having the freedom to create the life you want and to spend your time the way you want to spend it.
Yeah. We're definitely hearing people saying that's resonating. So what are the common mistakes people make when starting a coaching business? So let's really imagine someone who is leaving corporate or lost their job and they're just starting.
Yeah.
What are those common mistakes that you see?
Yeah. So I would say one of the common mistakes is once you kind of make the decision, you do the research, you're like, okay, coaching. Yes, I know it. That's me. A lot of times people want to coach everyone, because we learn. That's the cool thing about being a coach. The truth is, the secret is, you are trained to coach anyone on any topic. And what a gift that is, right? You could sit down at a bus stop next to somebody and you're trained to ask the right questions to pull out of that person what they need to hear to achieve their goal. So it's tough because in our brains, then we think, well, I can coach anybody. From a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint, you really want to get specific with your niche. So your niche is your expertise, your speciality. We also know it as your I help who with what, right? I help corporate professionals repackage their genius into a 6-figure coaching business. So that is one mistake that people make is they I'm a coach, and they get a website and it's crickets. So
Yeah.
it's important to get your messaging right and be an expert in a tiny segment of the market versus, hey, I can do anything. That makes it tougher from a marketing standpoint, which,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Hashtag find your niche. That's just so, so important. And I think this goes for those who are looking for a job as well. Like, you got to know what your expertise is, right? Who do you serve? What do you offer there? I want to get back to the common mistakes, but maybe what you're talking about here is how can one go about figuring out what their niche is?
Yeah. And, here's what I will say. A couple things. Don't expect to figure it out overnight. That's a lot of pressure to put on oneself. The program that I teach, we take like 3 or 4 months or not months, 3 or 4 weeks to really do the research and dive in to figure out what's your right fit. So the one thing I would say is don't put the pressure on yourself. Like you have to figure it out tomorrow. 2, it's okay to experiment. It's okay to get roll up your sleeves, test a couple types of, different niche ideas out. Do I like coaching on this topic? Do I like coaching this type of person? That's okay. There's also 3 buckets to consider when you're trying to think of, okay, what could my niche be? One is, which is kind of an easy one, is where have you yourself gone through massive transformation? Where have you yourself, you could almost make a list, like a timeline. Where are all the points in my life where I went through a massive transformation, and make that list. So that's a good brainstorm, because a lot of the time we choose to be coaches, coaching people that were a previous version of ourselves. Yeah. So think about where you went through massive transformation. That's one. 2 is, especially with corporate professionals who have a lot of experience. I mean, I have people that come to me that have, decades of experience in the corporate world. It's not like you have to just toss that. So look at, where do you already have expertise, right? So go through your job history, and those are clues. Take a look at that. So that's 2. Yes. And then the 3rd is just simply put, what's your passion? Right? What's your passion? I had one woman who was a corporate director of customer services. She became a health coach because that was her passion. That was her secret passion. So there are different ways you can kind of explore. This is kind of like detective work.
I love it.
Right?
Oh, this is so good. Okay, I got to type in these key learnings so we don't forget this. Hashtag finding your passion. Hashtag expertise. And then hashtag transformation, like where you went through a transformation journey. I love these 3. These are 3 great exercises you can do to find your niche. I heard someone right here. I feel like I'm going to hear ideal client soon.
Probably will.
To talk about that. How does that go hand in hand? Like, how do you figure out who your ideal clients are? I love this. This is a great topic.
Yeah, no, that is so good. No, it's true. Once you kind of have the idea of like your umbrella of where you want to serve, right? Is it health? Is it business? Is it career? So first you kind of want to pick the umbrella topic. Then you start to define that niche, that I help who with what. And once you've kind of landed the plane there, that's when you want to do an ideal client avatar profile.
Yes.
So there's an exercise that I walk my clients through to have them really almost, you have to envision the kind of human that you want to work with, because, we're not going to go through the trouble of quitting a corporate job just so we can work with people that we don't want to work with. Like you have to envision that and map it out so you can attract those people. So bingo.
I love that. Yeah. Amazing. Anything else you want to highlight? What other mistakes that you see people make when starting a business, coaching business?
Yeah. I mean, I would also say, just from a package perspective, or, so we're providing a service, right, to people, and there are different ways to provide that service. A lot of coaches, when they just start, which is okay at first, by the way, mistakes, not to be coachy, but, there aren't any mistakes. It's just winning or learning, right? So I think it's okay at first to come out the gate, and a lot of people will do hourly coaching, right? They'll do kind of like one-off coaching sessions. That's okay at first because you're just kind of getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting comfortable. You're kind of learning. But at a certain point, right, when you've done enough kind of practice, one-off sessions to scale your business, which is, the clients that come to me, they're trying to build a business they're passionate about, but they're also trying to replace a corporate income.
Yeah.
So that's going to entail building a package, not selling hourly. So that's a mistake that people make, is they're selling these kind of one-off, or they've got like a list of like a bazillion different things that they offer, and you want to simplify and create a highly valuable package.
Yes, guys, type it in, #package. That is so key. I'm totally aligned with you on that. That's something, the first thing I did when I started is not to just have an hourly, but also have a package. And my husband, being in marketing, he taught me about having like a low, medium, high offer, tailored different audience, but it's a package service there.
Yeah, absolutely. And creating a signature methodology, a framework, right? So it's not just like, hey, want to buy 10 coaching sessions? It's a package. I have a signature coaching methodology to walk my clients from their point of pain to their dream or their goal.
I love it.
Right?
This is a nice segue, Betty. What's your methodology on building a six-figure coaching business? And someone actually wrote in there, like, how do I really differentiate from a sea of coaches? To me, it's having that methodology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. So, first, to answer that question, how to differentiate yourself from a sea of coaches, it is what we've been talking about so far. So it's getting clear on your niche, your expert authority. So it's almost like put your head into the mind of the client. Imagine the client is speaking to, which they often do, they got like 3 or 4 coaches that they're kind of interviewing. They're trying to decide who they want to go with. Typically, they're going to go with the coach that most specifically can solve their pain point. It's kind of like somebody that has a heart problem is going to look for a cardiologist versus a general practitioner. So the more specific you can get with your niche, the more you can kind of rise to the top and above the noise. And second, just like you just said, Diana, it's the signature methodology, right? Nobody's going to have your signature methodology. So it's really important to kind of play that out and figure out what that looks like for you. So that's how to rise above, the sea of noise.
Yeah. And I'm going to lead on a secret as well when we talk about this methodology. It's something I learned when I was in management consulting. Big consulting companies, they're all about frameworks, methodologies. That's how they're able to charge more. It's having the methodology and framework. Yeah. And so that's something I really learned, is to have that. It's the same goes to when you're selling yourself, like, what's your approach, right? What's your process? It's all about tying this to methodology. So, Betty, can you maybe walk us through a little bit more in terms of the steps that you walk people through in building that six-figure coaching business?
Absolutely. So we've kind of already talked about step 1. So my methodology is the 5 C's of building a six-figure coaching business. So step 1, the 5 C's. Step 1 is choosing your niche. And it's more than just I chose. It's, doing that work. It's doing market validation. It's doing competitor research. It's figuring out what your unique value proposition is so that you can elevate yourself in the marketplace. It's running ideal client avatar surveys. It's speaking to the humans that you want to coach with and saying, what are you struggling with? What keeps you up at night? You're going to build your package around what they tell you that they need help with. It's not, we just kind of come up with this stuff. It's our people are telling us what they need from us. So that's part 1 is choosing your niche is not just out of thin air. It's you're doing some work, some research to make that decision and to hone in on your I help who with what statement. So that's part 1 of my method. Part 2, which again, we kind of talked about, is creating a killer coaching package, which is essentially the signature methodology, right? And that, to me, This is the fun part where you get to kind of whiteboard and brainstorm. You can use sticky notes, but all the mini steps of in your brain, what it takes to get the client from pain to dream. Because that's all a package is just a bridge, right?
Yeah.
So it's building that out and simplifying your offerings, getting some smart pricing, right? Figuring out, what that looks like as far as your offerings. So that's part 2. Part 3 is what I call curtains up, launch your brand. So curtains up, launch your brand.
Love it.
Right? So this is the key components, the nuts and bolts that goes into launching your business the right way. Often what I see when coaches come to me, they have a website, they launched it, but it's crickets. And they're like, what the heck? So this is about how to brand yourself, which you well know, right? Branding is important. This is also the tools. A lot of the coaches that start with me are starting from scratch. So it's, how do you get payment? What kind of CRM do you use? What, website, scheduling, things like that. So this is all the nuts and bolts of standing out your business. And it's also creating copy, compelling copy for your website. And that's some of my background, right? Is the corporate communication. So it's how to write copy on your profiles and your website that a client should be able to read your website and think, oh, she gets me. She's for me. So that's part 3. I'm going to pause there unless you want me to keep kind of going down my list.
I think that's good. Yeah, maybe we can quickly wrap up your 2. That's okay. And we'll move on next one. I love it. I actually really love it because this is, to me, it's a process. It's a methodology. It's a system, and you have a proven system. So I really love that. Like, you guys type in what's resonating with you there, or what process at the stage you are at there. Yeah, let's wrap up with the 2 before we move on to the next question there. We still have time.
Sure. So client attraction strategy is step 4. Man, I could do, I have done hours and hours of trainings on that. That's a whole nother topic. But the meat and potatoes of client attraction strategy is you need a system. You should never be on a Thursday, oh, what do? I don't have any discovery calls scheduled. You need to have a system so that each day that you wake up, what do I have to do that's going to give me the biggest ROI, right? There are certain things I do every day, every week that I know if I do those things, I will attract clients to me, not I'm hunting them down. So it's that client attraction system. And then part 5 is what I call close the deal. And it's quite similar to job seeking. So if you think about, you work so hard to get an interview, you go and you're sitting down for the interview, and then you could risk blowing the interview because you didn't prep for the interview, right? So this is the same kind of thing. You want a powerful discovery call script. You want to know how to overcome objections. You also want to know how to pre-qualify people so that when you're on the phone, you already know they have a need, the timing's right, all that good stuff. So those are the 5.
Love it. Oh my goodness. I love it, guys. Oh, type in there the process. I love this, Betty. Thank you for sharing that. And I have something similar. I have my 5 Ds as well in methodology. So it's so key, right? And I came up with based on my name, Diana. So I came up with my D method.
That's fancy. I love that.
I'm a big fan on using things like that. Be creative. So here's another big question I know that coaches have is what are some strategies to get more clients? What maybe your top 3 strategies here?
Yeah. So strategies to get more clients. I would say first is people spread themselves too thin across a million different social media channels. When you're just starting out, pick a social media channel where your ideal client avatar, there's the word, pick the channel where they hang out. Right. So for me, when I was career coaching, it was LinkedIn. So pick a platform and dominate the platform. Also creating weekly training content. So free weekly training content. So if you show up once a week, and that could look like either blogging, that could be video, that could be podcasting, but you want to find ways to create consistent value for the ideal client avatar, right? So they expect you to show up and you just teach and give value. And then they're like, hey, can you help me? Like, I want you to work with me. So show up, create that consistent value on a weekly basis.
Love it. Love it. Guys, please type in hashtag create consistent value. This is so, so key. To me, this is all about brand building. It's about tying into the credibility, the visibility, and the marketability piece that I talk a lot about. So it's about showing up and people see it over and over again. And that's what I've seen when I first started my business. The first couple of years, I wrote over 200 blog posts. And 200 of them. And within a year, like it took 9 months, actually about 9 months, that's when things really started picking up because I was consistent with publishing blog posts every single week on my website and on LinkedIn there. So you got to find that consistency. And that's something we've been hearing throughout the day. Consistency, having those habits, having the system, something that you can follow. Like Austin talked a lot about that as well, of how he does his, about just having that system and process in there. So I love that. Any other strategy here?
I mean, that's the gist of it. And it's just like you said, when you get to a point, I remember this when I first started, I was blogging once a week and I missed a week. And I had a handful of people reach out and say, what happened? Where's the blog? When that happens for you, when people notice it's missing, you've done your job. So that's what it's all about.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So to wrap up here, like what's your best advice for someone looking to start a coaching business?
Yeah.
What are those key steps they can take?
So don't wait. The timing's never going to be right. You also don't have to quit your job tomorrow. Start the research. Similar to job hunting, do some informational interviews. Get on the phone with some coaches, ask them some key questions to figure out, is this for me? Is this aligned with me? You can look into some different certifications. So you can get onto the ICF, International Coaching Federation website. There's a ton of different coaching certification programs. And start thinking about the business aspect of it earlier than maybe you would even think about, because my program, it's a 6-month program. So it takes a hot minute to stand up a business from scratch. So start to do that research. Yeah,
I love that. And what I'm hearing is you don't necessarily need to quit your job first to start that. You can start during, even when you're in a corporate job. I know one of my, clients there, we talked about like, she had that too. Like, she got her certification in coaching while in a job before she made a pivot from being a sales engineer to becoming a coach.
100%. Yeah. It's not that it's impossible to do, but I like it and this is what I did too. Even after I got laid off, by the way, I took what I call a bridge job so that I could have this buffer to kind of finance me and give me a little breathing room while I stood up my business. So guard yourself so that you can make a smooth transition and start now. Yeah.
I love that advice that it's okay to have a bridge job while you are building your long-term, goal in your business there. I love that. That's great advice. Great. Anything else, for those, as they plan for like 2021, any like takeaways or words of encouragement that you have?
Yeah. I mean, life is too short. Life is so precious. Life is too short. Someday this could be the only day. So start to go after what your heart, your gut, your intuition is telling you. Listen to that little voice.
Oh, that just really touched me. Don't wait for that someday. Start doing it. If you have that desire, go do it, right? Don't overanalyze it or go into the analysis paralysis mode. Like just go do it. Go do something. And guys, for those who are interested in really like building a 6-figure coaching business, I invite you to go check out Betty Kempa's website, bettykempa.com. She has an amazing Facebook group on building a 6-figure coaching business. I'm part of it. I know you started it like this. Was it this summer, right? That you started the Facebook group?
I started it this year. It was just such an awesome way to provide consistent value. I get on there and I do free trainings.
You do free trainings. Yeah, every week. I love it. You have accountability alerts. You have sharing wins. I love it. Like just the energy there. So you guys are thinking of starting a business, go check out Betty's a Facebook group for support. I highly recommend her work. And you can also follow her on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much, Betty. I'm so glad we got to connect again. We had a great interview this summer where we talked about our entrepreneur journey as well of how we got started. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on my YouTube channel as well, that Betty and I went even deeper in terms of our pivot story there. So thank you so much. Have a happy holiday.
Diana.
and wishing you a great new year.
You as well. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Oh, wait. I want to take a selfie. I forgot the screenshot.
Okay.
I forgot. I'm going to get one with you
Of course, the selfie. Can't leave without that.
Let's do that before we go in here.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Cheers. All right. Thanks, guys. Please help me give you your favorite emojis to say thank you to Betty here. Thank you so much. All right. And we'll be back another 30-second here with some outro music. Hello and welcome back to Career Relaunch Summit. I'm so delighted that you're here. I'm your host, Diana YK Chan. So we have our final speaker of our day one summit. Next up, I'm going to be chatting with Anna Lokotkova. She's a career and personal branding advisor at CV Labs. We're going to talk about how to stand out online, why most job seekers are linked out. She's an international career advisor, speaker, and LinkedIn branding trainer. She's known for helping people market their professional stories on paper, online, and in person. She's been featured in Forbes, JobScan, and other career resources. Two of her passions are public speaking and LinkedIn, which has been the main engine in building her coaching business. So guys, let's welcome Anna here. All right. Oh, hi, Anna. So, can we hear you? Let's see here. How are you? That's good. Oh, I think there's a little echo here with your the volume here. Is it me or is it saying here? A little echo. Let's see. Can you guys hear? Maybe just say a few things here. Go, Anna. Yes. Go, Anna. Yes. Oh, let's just make sure Anna's okay here before we start. Grab my selfie. Yes, I will be doing that. I've been taking some pictures here. Oh, let's just make sure Anna is okay here. Let's see. I think she'll, all right. So glad you guys enjoy Betty's talk here. Okay, so let me just check. I'm going to be, yeah, let's see. Anna's going to come back. I'm going to bring her back. Give me 1 second. Okay. We'll just be patient here. So let me bring Anna back here. All right. So let's see if Anna is back. She's probably just adjusting her. Oh, she's going to re-log in. Okay. She's going to come back. Don't worry, guys. Okay. I'm going to come back to talk about LinkedIn. It's one of my favorite topics as well. LinkedIn, branding, networking. So I hope you guys have been enjoying the day so far. We've had so many amazing speakers who just are really passionate about helping others to succeed, to thrive, and to give back. So it's been amazing. I feel really good. Like I've been on a high today, even though it's been like, I don't even know how many hours. Yeah, 10 interviews, like at least 5 hours of interviews today. And then we're going to do it again tomorrow. So I hope you guys are coming tomorrow as well. Let me know if you're coming to day 2. Give me hashtag day 2 that you'll be coming. We will be, I'm going to start off the day with my friend, Seema Soda, where we're going to start off with how to unleash your soul purpose for greater joy and impact. So I'm going to kick things off. She's coming all the way from the Netherlands. And then we're going to go in to talk to my friend, Mike Bird, on the key skills, job search skills you didn't learn in school. And then we'll move in to talk to my friend, David Mendoza, on how to thrive as a student for 2021. And then I'm going to talk to Lisa Plain on finding your career change superpower. And then we're going into Carrie Twig, where we're going to talk about how to find your career story. So that tomorrow morning is going to also be jam-packed. It's going to be so good. Hashtag day 2, amazing. Oh my gosh, so many of you are coming. Honestly, guys, go spread the word. Okay, I hope you guys have been enjoying this. It's really full of value. I'm going to be following up for those who register with, the replays as well. Share this with your friends. Like, this is really our give back, the way we're giving back as coaches, career advisors here. So please spread the word here. Honestly, part of my vision, I was on LinkedIn News Live, on Get Hired Live last month. And the video got like over 80,000 views. I was surprised, like within a couple of weeks. And so I really had a vision with the summit, is that it wouldn't be great if we can help over 10,000 people. So I've been holding on to this vision and really, through this summit, that we can help over 10,000 people there. All right, so let's see if Anna's coming back soon here. I'm sure she is. She's probably maybe just rebooting her computer there. I'm glad to hear that you guys have been enjoying day 1, and a lot of you are going to be here for day 2 as well. So perhaps let me talk about maybe some of the, let's see. Oh, Anna is back. All right, Anna is back. So let's bring her back, guys. Okay. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Diana. I'm so sorry. I have no idea whether it was my internet or I don't know what it was, but I think it's working now.
It is working. We're good, right, guys? Let me give me some of your favorite emojis to welcome Anna here. I saw some like go Anna, so I think I got some of your fans here as well. So I'm so glad we're finally connecting. I think we've been following each other's work for quite some time. And finally, this is our first time connecting. I really adore your work. I love your videos as well. And I know you're obsessed with LinkedIn and branding, which is also part of my favorite topics there. So before we dive in your topic, we would love to get to know more about you. So we're going to start off with, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
I guess it's the fact that I've lived in 3 different countries and I had to move twice in my life. So, it's starting from scratch in a brand new environment, and it's definitely a good test for your adaptability skills. And I've done that. And I think it has changed my life in a pretty significant way.
Oh, wow. I love that. And what gives you joy? What fulfills you?
A lot of different things, really, but I think the biggest one is helping other people build confidence, or not so much actually build it, but find the resources within themselves that they already have. Like, that gives me such joy that is not comparable to anything else. But other than that, I guess video creation would be the next one, hence the YouTube channel and hence a lot of the other videos that I've done and still keep doing. I think those are the 2 biggest things.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What's been your biggest lesson learned for 2020?
I think it's the fact that patience and adaptability are so underrated. Like, this year has been a huge test for those 2 skills. And I think a lot of people have discovered that maybe they thought they're good at adapting to things really quickly, but it wasn't actually the case in real life. So I think that's my biggest lesson.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that. This is awesome. So let's dive into your topic, which is how to stand out online, why most job seekers are linked out. So I'm going to start off things off with, why is it important to use LinkedIn for job searching?
Well, I guess I'm going to start with the obvious thing that everybody has heard, like literally probably 100 times just today. Recruiters are still using LinkedIn as the go-to platform for finding the right candidates, the right fit. So that's one of the most obvious reasons to be using LinkedIn. But besides, I think what most job seekers don't understand, especially the people who are kind of still new to job search, and it's not something that they've done, they haven't done that in a while. So it's new and it's a big change. So what they forget to realize is that job search is not a lonely journey. You need a support system and you need a community. And considering that finding community offline has not really been an attainable option this year, virtual community is your next, best thing. So I think LinkedIn is the go-to place to do that, because if you want to see industry thought leaders, they're there. If you want to find people who genuinely want to support you and want to provide you with resources and help, and they genuinely care about your success, you can do that on LinkedIn as well. If you want to get better at your work and learn something new, you can do that on LinkedIn as well. So it's no longer, I need to learn something, so I'm going to go read a book. Of course you can, and that's going to be awesome. but LinkedIn can help you learn on a continuous basis. That's what it's done for me and for so many other people I know.
Yeah, guys, type in hashtag learning and hashtag virtual community. I really can't agree more about the whole community thing and the networking. Honestly, I started building my LinkedIn presence back when I was recruiting, at Google. I really took it seriously to build my network there. And, just through that, I met some amazing people, and just some amazing opportunities have, come through, really building that network on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been loving your content on LinkedIn as well. And I even feel like I know you, like, even though we've never actually talked this way, but from seeing your posts and watching you on LinkedIn, I'm like, yeah, I know Diana. She's cool.
Yeah, isn't that it? We get the vibe too. And we post the content, you get the sense of the person, their values, and what you like about them. And that's how, to be honest, and this is why I think, even though a lot of the speakers I have not officially talked to, like online like this, I feel that because of the content on LinkedIn, we know each other already. So when I did the initial outreach, pretty much everyone said yes. I only had one person, actually 2 people couldn't do it because busy schedule, but pretty much everyone said yes. And within a week, I lined up like 19 speakers.
Well, why would anybody say no to this? Because, like, quite honestly, I think everybody who is watching this should send you a message just saying thanks for the gigantic work that you did in a record time. Like, honestly, you put this together so quickly, and I'm sure that it's not like it's about like collaborating with other people as well, but it's you who initiated it and you put it together. And I think that's truly, truly amazing.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about today with Joshua. Like, he talked about also just about leadership as well, right? In terms of stepping up our game, in times of need, like that we need to also step up to support each other as well. So let's move in to talk about why is it important to have a strong personal brand and presence on LinkedIn?
That's a great question. I could theorize about this forever, but instead of talking the talk, I actually love to walk the walk. So to answer this question, I'm just going to tell you a little bit of my story. So I think about 2.5 years ago, or 3 years tops, I made a seemingly simple decision that I think forever changed the way I think and the way I do business in particular. And that decision was to hit publish under my very first post on LinkedIn. And the way I felt that at that moment is exactly the way a lot of people feel today. Like, I don't know, am I expert enough to be sharing content on LinkedIn? Is it going to bring me anything? Or how can I make it better? Like, all of those questions that you have in mind and all of those hesitations. So I just said, you know what? Whatever. I cannot answer all of those questions, so I'm just going to do it. And since then, like I said, it's been like a little under 3 years. Every single opportunity that has happened to me in terms of doing business and building my own business, doing speaking engagements, gaining referrals and clients, and meeting amazing professionals in my industry, just like yourself, all of that can be traced to my LinkedIn presence. Like, literally, like, all of that started with me being active on LinkedIn. So, I mean, and I know that some people who are watching this might say, well, that's great for you, Anna, you have your own business, so it makes sense for you to promote yourself and, your knowledge and all of that. But if I'm a job seeker who needs a job, why should I do the same? And the answer to that really is that the mechanism doesn't change. That's why, I think you and I share the same love for marketing, like generally the concept and all the different principles. And I think the most beautiful and fascinating thing about it is that those principles apply to anyone. If you're selling an idea, if you're selling a product, or if you're selling your expertise and your knowledge, it's the exact same mechanism. So if it worked for me, if it worked for you, and if it worked for all the other speakers who were present here today and are going to be present here tomorrow, probably there's something to it, So it's definitely, and with everything going virtual, I think it's more important than ever. Like, quite honestly, I don't know about you, but I've never seen LinkedIn so active as it is like this year.
Oh my God, I couldn't agree more. Back in April, I already said to my clients, double down on personal branding, double down on your LinkedIn presence and the content creation.
Yeah.
I remember saying that to my clients back in April already, because, being virtual, how do we really get in touch with people is through virtual platforms or virtual community. And LinkedIn is the largest professional network, right? And that's how you're really going to build your presence. And I've been talking about this formula a lot this year, is that to stand out and get opportunities, you have to increase your visibility, credibility, marketability, and likability. And so when I think about LinkedIn as a platform, if you start building your brand and putting out content, you're getting the visibility. And as you do more and more consistently, you're building the credibility, right? And through that, you're going to get people refer you to opportunities, right? Or they're going to see you as an expert, right? Which means you're going to become more marketable. You're increasing your marketability as well. And the more you share your voice, right, of who you are, you increase your likability.
Definitely.
Right? That's about building the branding, what the power of that is, right? So
definitely.
I love it. So let's move on. How do you really stand out on LinkedIn? This is a great segue. Like what are some strategies that people can apply to really standing out on LinkedIn?
I think this is definitely one of the most popular questions of this year, because now that a lot of people, even those who haven't been active on LinkedIn, are getting on it, they're like, whoa, there's so much on here already. So what do I do to cut through all that noise and really figure out a way to stand out? I think there are basically two fundamental ways to think about this. And one of them is to think about what is on your LinkedIn profile. Like, how can you make your LinkedIn profile stand out? And I know that Hannah Morgan has talked about this today, like using visuals, using samples of your work as proof. I think that's the absolute best way to stand out on LinkedIn, considering that a lot of people, again, talk the talk. So it's hard to kind of see whether that talk is actually real and true. So if you have a sample, if you have a small presentation, a video, an infographic, whatever it is, that immediately increases your credibility 100 times. So that is definitely one of the best ways. And the second fundamental way is like, okay, so now that I kind of know how to make my profile stand out, so let's say that I have it optimized, I really put some thought into this, what next? And next comes your LinkedIn presence, your daily LinkedIn activity. And the best way to stand out there, in my opinion, is actually to be able to be real. Like, treat your online connections and your online presence the same way you treat your offline presence. Like, would you actually come up to a person at an event, a person you don't know, and say, hey, I want to network with you? Like, would you actually say that? Probably not. So why do you think that it's okay to send that in a note in your connection request? Like, hey, I'd like to add you to my network. Why exactly? Like, what's the point of doing this? So being real and being, an actual human and treating your online connections the same way you treat your offline presence, I think is the absolute best way. And that obviously is relevant for like different aspects, starting with how you're messaging people, how you're connecting with new people and building that initial conversation, or whether, how you're commenting under someone else's post and what you're saying there, how you're positioning yourself. So all of those different things, it's relevant to everything. So if you really understand that you're still, yes, you're behind the screen, and yes, the other person is behind the screen as well, but there are still two humans interacting here. Yeah. And the same way they would interact in real life, the same thing is relevant for doing that on LinkedIn.
I love it. I love it. So when I'm hearing, guys, type in the key learning here, hashtag be real, hashtag authenticity, right? That's really what the key is, because that's how you're really going to build the trust and the connection, which we've been talking about all day today, which is around the whole human connection, right? Like, Austin and Jonathan has talked about the whole networking piece. It's finding that common ground. And even when I talked to Show this morning, like, we were talking about how I got to know him, even though he's in Hong Kong this year, because of sharing stories. Sharing your own personal story on LinkedIn, where people can really relate to you and feel that they already know you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's quite a bit of a challenge, because sometimes you feel like, do people really care about my story? Or do I even have enough interesting stuff to share? So you always have those hesitations when you're new to building your presence on LinkedIn, or to creating content for that matter. So I think that idea of, craving real human connection in any form, whether you're reading a post or you're messaging someone. I think that's been definitely fundamental this year. And I'm sure that that's going to, that's just something that is going to stay this way, because we're still people and we're still craving the same kind of approach and the same kind of connection.
Yeah. There's a question here. I'm not sure if you know, it says, has the LinkedIn platform gained visibility or value and trust in the EU markets?
I think it's getting there. Definitely, it's not quite to the same extent as in North America. And obviously, there are certain differences in how people would build their presence in Europe on LinkedIn. And there are definitely a lot of cultural, I don't want to call them stereotypes, but I hope you know what I mean, like cultural differences that definitely are at play here as well. So you need to be mindful of those, like probably you wouldn't do the same thing in terms of marketing yourself in Germany as you would do in Canada, or as you would do in the US, or as you would do in other countries. So it's those differences definitely matter. And I think LinkedIn is on the rise pretty much everywhere right now, well, except for the countries where it's banned. But generally speaking, consider those differences, but at the same time, the trend is still there. And the sooner you can get on that trend, the more grateful you're going to be to yourself later.
Yeah. I feel like I want to say that I've seen in the Asian market, Hong Kong and Singapore has really picked up. Like I've noticed this year, like a few other career coaches I've seen who's been rising as well in that market. Even Australia, I've been seeing that there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about networking on LinkedIn. What are the top networking mistakes people make on LinkedIn? Like we know it's such a powerful platform. We know that you can definitely leverage LinkedIn to get a job, increase your visibility. What are those mistakes that people make?
I think the biggest mistake is networking only when you need a job. And I'm sure that other people have talked about this today with you. So I wasn't able to watch every single talk, but I've watched some, and I know that definitely has come up. So the idea of putting in consistent effort and realizing that whether you like it or not, again, the reality is the following, that networking is not a short game. Yeah, sometimes you can get those short wins. So let's say I really need a job right now, and I happen to contact my old friend, and they just happen to have an option, a lead, or an opportunity for me. Sometimes that works. But quite honestly, you cannot rely on that, on that possibility or that probability every single time. So in reality, most of the time, if we're talking the majority of cases, networking is a long game. It's a game where you put in some consistent bits of effort, and then you get a big return on that in the long run. Like when I was starting out, and I'm sure that it was the same for you and many other people who are active on LinkedIn, like that initial feeling when you're just starting from scratch pretty much is like you're putting in, and then you're like, well, when is it going to finally give me something? And then when it finally does, you're like, oh, I get why I had to do all of that work. Now I realize what it actually meant to be consistent, to be regular, and to have that consistent presence or consistent activity building going on, on a regular basis. So that's I think one of the most common mistakes. And that's one of the main reasons, whenever somebody reaches out to me and says, I've been networking, I've been doing this and that, but nothing's happening and I cannot figure out what I'm doing wrong. And I'm like, well, how active have you been? And they're like, oh yeah, I've done some networking in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, people give up too soon. I think this is where, going back, I'm so glad you're saying this because we're reinforcing the message of consistency, patience, and you have to really be proactive in that effort as well. It's not just like 2 weeks. It needs to be that consistent game. Like you have to put in that effort and be intentional about it. It needs to be, going back to LinkedIn and even networking, it should be part of your overall career management strategy.
Definitely.
Like the long term.
And I think, the other thing that I've been noticing is that a lot of people, especially those who are kind of new to networking and still kind of trying to figure it out virtually, they are like, okay, they view it as some kind of a must effort, right? So because Diana told me to network, I'm going to go and network now. But they don't really enjoy it. They're just doing it because essentially they're forcing themselves to do it. And I mean, it's better than not doing it. But my point is, unless you find some fun in this, unless you find some joy or just, enjoy some part of that process, it will always feel like that extra weight on your shoulders. Like, oh, I had such a busy day and now I have to go network. My God, like that's not the mindset that you want to be in on this.
One thing I always talk about is networking is discovering what you can do for others. So instead of just thinking of networking that, hey, do you have a job for me? Or do you know who's hiring? It is going back to, discovering like more about the other person. And I talk a lot about curiosity, right? In coaching, it's all about putting that curiosity hat, asking great open-ended questions. Like Joshua talked about it this morning, asking great power, like open-ended questions to start that dialogue versus just having a yes, no type of answer there. I see it a lot. Like even when I was in recruiting, I would get it pretty much daily from job seekers. Do you have a job for me? I'm looking for something. Do you have a job for me? Or I'll get these mass emails I was sent to all the recruiters like, hey, do you have something for me there? And it's very transactional. It doesn't really build that relationship there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love your point about curiosity, because I think when it comes to networking and trying to build some professional relationships in your industry, in your community, in your company, whatever that is, you have to be networking not for the sake of getting something out of this, but essentially for the sake of curiosity, for the sake of, hey, that's actually a great way to learn something new about my profession, my industry, or that other person that I'm talking to. So genuinely, feeling, hey, that's value. That it's not just about, oh, I got promoted because I was networking, or, oh, I got a job because I was networking. It's about finding value in the process itself.
Yeah. Networking can definitely be fun. So something I do, maybe we can talk about something like, how can we make networking fun? I'm big on paying it forward. So I have this thing on Fridays where I will think about pay it forward Fridays of how I can pay it forward. So I've started doing this with clients where I would either introduce my clients to my network, provided they've done the work. And through that, over the years, I've built this network where, because I referred my clients to others, when my new clients come, my older clients are willing to also pay it forward to help my new clients as well. So I find I love it. It's fun for me in a way that I know it's people supporting each other. And, for me, it's just like, it's building that, just, supporting each other to grow at the end of the day. So I don't know if you have any advice on how to make it networking more fun there.
I mean, I think that initiative is brilliant. That's something that helps not just you and your business and your network, it spreads to the networks of all of those other people who are contributing. I think even something as simple as finding the people and the voices on LinkedIn that really, resonate with you, and following that content and looking forward to that content every single day. Like literally, I don't know, I would find people who create videos because that's what I love doing. And I would start following those people and engaging with that content. And it's fun for me because that's a topic I really care about. And maybe it's not directly related to all the everyday stuff I do, but, when I comment on this one, oh, I might as well, message this other person. I might as well answer this comment here. And so here and there, but that's that core of that, again, that curiosity or that interest in the subject, that's what always keeps me going. So even if networking didn't give me anything, like literally somebody would say, you know what, Anna, starting tomorrow, it doesn't give you zero, like anything, I would still keep doing it for the fun of learning about the topic that I care about. So, I mean, it's a very simple thing. Like that's not the genius move, but it worked for me, and it works for a lot of other people who are trying to somehow make networking more enjoyable and fun. And I think it's simple but powerful.
Yeah. Another one I like to do is, I would forward content to people. I'll be like, hey, just thought of you, thought you might be interested in this. It's so simple. You don't have to write a long note or like with a client, like, hey, we were just talking about this. This just came up. I think you might be interested in it. And, for me, I'm not expecting anything. I'm just sharing what I come across and let them know like I'm thinking about someone or like I care about them.
Yeah, totally. I do that sometimes as well. And I know that other people do that. And anytime I get a message with something that truly, coincides with my interests, my hobbies, my work, I genuinely appreciate a note like that. I think like that's thoughtful, and I don't even care why the person did that. Was it for fun? Was it because they want something? I still appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It's really a mindset. What I'm hearing is really having that abundance mindset as well, where you're helping each other out. And I see this right now, like even with the summit. I love the fact seeing, that the speakers and even other coaches have also been sharing about the summit because we all have this common goal, wanting to help others.
Yeah, of
At the
course.
end. That's really what it is. We have this common goal. We share this common interest and desire here. So Anna, one of my question is, how do you cut through the noise of career advice?
Oh, that's a great question.
There's so much information out there.
I know, it's crazy. Like literally this year, I don't know, when the whole pandemic started and I took a moment and I was like, wait, is this how much career-related content we actually have on a daily basis, like everywhere? And I'm in the space and it was overwhelming for me. So I can't even imagine how overwhelming it would be for someone who is like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what's job searching? How does that work exactly?
Yeah.
I think, the big thing here is that definitely there's a ton of useful advice, even for free, out there. And I'm not discouraging anyone from consuming that advice. But at the same time, I think you need to kind of find the type of voices, again, the type of people who are genuinely like yourself. So somebody who has some kind of similarity, some kind of bond that truly resonates with who you are, like authentically who you really are deep inside. And if that person, that personality resonates with you, just pick those, I don't know, 1 person, 5 people, tops 10 people, and just stick to that type of content over and over and over again. Because the problem with stretching yourself too thin across like all kinds of resources is that how do you know which advice is credible? How do you know which what if 2 pieces of advice conflict with each other? Like what if one of them contradicts the other one? What do you do? Like it's just too much work to do all the research behind this. Because at the end of the day, I believe that if you're doing something that contradicts who you are, you're not going to keep doing that for a very long time.
Yeah.
You're going to give up on that sooner or later. So you might as well start by staying true to that, to who you are and what resonates with you. And the important distinction here, though, is not to take that as I'm meaning that you should follow the advice that is convenient to follow. Like, for example, if I don't really feel like doing all the hard work and somebody out there goes out on a video and tells me that, you don't need to put in hard work, you can just do X. And I'm like, oh, thank God, finally there is an advice that is convenient for me. That's not what I'm saying. Because there are no shortcuts. You will have to do some kind of work, whether you like it or not. And sometimes that advice can be the hard truth that we're all afraid to face, but we have to face it. So finding that voice that, for whatever reason, sometimes we cannot even explain it really, why that particular person or that particular voice resonates with you so much. But when you believe that person, when you trust that person, and you know that they put out quality work, they do quality work, and they put out quality advice, then you're going to be way more likely to act on it. And only when you act on it, that's when any change is going to happen. Because a lot of people, they are stuck at the stage of reading, listening, going to webinars, thinking, yeah, that's great. Oh, they're so right. Oh, yeah, that is great. And then nothing. They're not actually implementing it. So I'm a believer in, taking action. And the only way to do that is if you hone in on the stuff that truly resonates with you, that does not contradict who you are. And then sometimes, even if that advice is hard to take, you'll still find it in yourself to take it and do something about it.
Oh, I love this. This is such a great way to, as we wrap up the first day, like I'm hearing so as you're saying this, when the quote came up for me is, nothing is going to work if you don't do the work. Nothing is going to work if you don't do the work, right? So guys, I know a lot of you've been here with us. I know I've seen a lot of you here, been here all day. I want to ask you, what are the top 3 to 5 things that you are going to do, that you're going to implement, that you're going to actually take action, right? So there's the learning and the insights, but I actually want to ask you, what you're going to set yourself accountable, even over this holiday. There are things that you want to do, 3 to 5 things that you want to do. Okay. And then I want you to track your progress. I want you to measure the progress as well. Okay. See if it's working. If it's not sticking, then you move on. But I really want to hone in what Anna just said here is, you can get all this advice, this 2 days. You hear from 20 speakers, give you all this advice. Okay. But it could definitely, it's going to make you feel good, inspiration and all that, but if you want to get the results, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to take massive action. Okay. Like I think about even this summit, I could have overanalyzed and think, oh my God, I'm not ready yet. This needs 3 months to do. I just decided to do it. I didn't even have a plan, but I had a vision, reach out speakers, and then I came up with a plan afterwards when I knew it was actually happening. So I really want to challenge you. Type in here is, what are those 3 to 5 things you're actually going to do? You're going to hold yourself accountable for. Okay. And that's how you're going to take it from, just thinking about it, just learning about it, to actually applying it and getting results there. So Anna, final advice here. What's your best advice for people in managing a successful career and job search in 2021?
I think, well, that's a very tough question, because we could talk about just this question for like another hour. I think the biggest, because I know that all the other speakers shared some amazing takeaways and lessons that I hope you guys can also take advantage of and implement and use in your job search next year. I think the bit from me would be patient. Because sometimes, even if you're doing all the right things and putting in the hard work, the result just doesn't quite seem to come as quickly as you want it to. And most often what happens is, because we're all human, we're all biased in one way or the other. So we'll jump to certain conclusions or try to make certain conclusions without even having enough data. So literally, I'm sitting here and thinking, oh, what is the next big passion in my life? When I haven't tried anything. How can I possibly know what that is? Because quite honestly, we tend to overestimate our ability to predict what it is that we really want to do. And then when you actually end up doing it, we're like, oh, wait a minute, it's not that fun. Or there's some other challenge I don't like, or it takes way more time than I expected. So all of those things, for the majority of us, we have to give it a try. So that's why I think being patient with that and giving yourself that space, hey, I tried it. Yes, it sucked. It didn't work out, but I tried it. And I admire myself for experimenting and for trying and for gathering that data and moving forward with that. When I have that data, as in this is working, this is not working, I like this and I dislike this, then I can confidently move forward.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, this is so good. Thank you so much. So guys, make sure to check out Anna's website, cvlabs.ca. Follow her on LinkedIn. Check out her YouTube as well. I know she creates videos. I love her videos, so make sure to check it out. And also you can follow her on Instagram. So thank you so much, Anna. I'm so glad we had a chance to finally connect and to talk about your favorite topic as well. I totally align with a lot of things that you said today.
Thank you so much, Diana, for having me. Honestly, this was so much fun, and I'm really, really grateful that you did all of the gigantic work to put this together on your own. Like, honestly, thank you. Just thank you for doing
my
this.
pleasure. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, give a round of applause for Anna. Give your favorite emoji there as well. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later, Anna.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Oh, my goodness. This was day 1 summit. Was this awesome or not? This was so good. I'm actually curious to know who here has been here with me all day. Type in full day. I want to know who was here full day with me all day today. I want to hear that. For those who have been in and out, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure. Someone asked, where do I get the energy from? I don't know. Honestly, I've been pulling quite a few late nights the last couple of weeks. I haven't done that in quite some time, given I have a demanding also work schedule. But you know what? Something that I've really learned through this summit is you don't need to learn. You don't need to figure out you need to know what you want in terms of desire, the what your vision is and your why. You didn't need to know exactly how to do it. Okay. So for me, it was I had the desire to make a difference in a big way and give back this holiday season. My vision was to serve thousands of people and also bring in amazing guest speakers to serve thousands of people, not just me alone. And I had this attention where I really want to create inspiration, joy, connection, giving people hope. That's really what my vision and intentions were. And then from there, just figuring it out. So I really want to encourage you, as we wrap up the year, it is a really great time to do some reflection, create your vision board, and then go take massive action. Okay. So I really want to encourage you, before we wrap up, what I'm going to do is I want to create a quick, wrap up of key lessons from day one. For those who couldn't join all day, I'm going to do a quick, 15, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes max. So I got to pick up my kids from daycare by 5:30 here. So I'm going to do just a quick summary lesson here. So I see, oh my goodness, so many of you like full day here. Oh my goodness, here from 10:30. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Oh my gosh. I know I've heard some clients, they took the day off, like just, come to this summit. So thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoy it. I'm going to do some like quick lesson learn here from the day so that you can capture the Coles Notes version if you don't have time to watch the entire day summit. So let me go through some of my notes here to go through, and feel free to type in yours as well, the lessons learned or who you really resonated with, the speaker, which talk that you really liked. So we started off with a show doing on how to pivot into a new role. Some of the key lessons he talked about is that if you don't believe that you have what it takes to make that pivot, hiring managers won't believe it. Okay, so you first need to believe in yourself. And I talk about how you need to recognize your value, to believe in your value, and to convey your value there. Okay, and then we also talked about the importance of honing in on your transferable skills and crafting a story, your pivot story, okay, to really be able to convince the hiring manager of why you want to make that change and why you are the best candidate, okay? And then we talked about like, where do you really find a joy, or how do you know it's a right role for you? The importance of that, you're in a right role if you have these happy feelings, on most days after your long work days. Let's try to find like, are you really having like a good day after work or not? Do you feel that it's draining, or is it filling you up? Okay. Make sure that you also assess the salary in terms of that you need in your new role, and if that will keep you happy. Take calculated risk. Okay, so those were the key lessons from show there. We talked about staying proactive, staying consistent, show the employer that you are damn good. All right, then we moved on to Dr. John Tam on how to use personality psychology to uncover your strengths and blind spots. One of the lessons he talked about is pivot. He really talked about pivoting. Always be on your toes, especially with this changing climate right now that we're in. Always be on your toes. He talked about how cast fear with knowledge and then action. Okay, so noting the knowledge and then take action, which is what we just talked about as well. And we talked about how to also build more of that likability, using personality psychology of how mirroring the speaker, right? To really build that trust and rapport, try to mirror their energy. The other thing we talked about is to really understanding your strengths and blind spots to leverage your soft skills, become a leader or a manager or a specialist, okay? And then the other thing we talked about is finding mentors who have navigated a similar pivot as you. Okay, so finding mentors is great. It's similar to networking as well. So finding someone who could guide you along the way. Okay, let me know if any of this is resonating with you. Okay, feel free to type it in. I'm going to quickly walk through some key lessons in case any of you have missed it, so that you had that. Then we went to talk with Jess Smith, my friend, on the benefits of career clarity. One of the key lessons she talked about is career clarity. It's all about patience. You can't rush the process. Okay, you can't just get it through quickly. Take the time to do that. She said, first thing to do when you know you are in the wrong career is to forgive yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Notice what are those exciting moments and non-exciting moments as well to help you identify what's the right fit for you. Okay, we talked about digging deeper, going deeper, another layer of really understanding why you're interested in that. Like if you're interested in helping people, what does that really mean? What does that look like? Okay. What are those moments that give you joy and inspiration? This is probably why you see I've been asking the speakers these questions, like what gives you joy, right? What fulfills you? And you can feel that you want to get out of your head and come from your heart there. Okay. We also talked about how researching different paths or jobs to identify comparisons with your path. Okay. So for example, if this role requires a lot of travel, do you actually want to do that or not? Or if this role requires 90 hours of work week as a consultant, is that what you're willing to do, right? So really also understanding your preferred lifestyle there, okay? Okay, so then we moved on and talking to Joshua Miller on the importance of future-proofing your career now. So I really enjoyed talking to him because Joshua gave a lot of also golden nuggets from a leadership standpoint, not just from a job search. I really liked what he talked about on, the key to the key to future-proofing your career is now, that you got to really work on your leadership skills. It's all about up-leveling. Okay. And he really encouraged us to ask open-ended questions and clarifying questions to build the trust and rapport. He talked about how job seekers need to learn new skills online, whether it's through, let's say, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, in the areas of like complex problem solving, learning the industry. There's really no excuses to learn. He talked about how finding a company that's also willing to invest in your professional development. And this is because right now with the changing environment, there's just so many changes happening. And I forgot the status, but it was basically saying by 2025, 80% of the jobs created, only 20% of the workforce will have those skills. And so this is why it's so critical that you need to take control of your career and be proactive in up-leveling your skills there. Okay. And actually that ties into this is when we talked about Dr. John Tam. He talked about as you move up in your career, the way to differentiate is also about your leadership skills, your soft skills. Okay. So this is why it's so important to invest in that there. Okay, and then we moved on to Sarah Vermont, where we talked about the top 3 career change mistakes and how to avoid them. So we talked about number 1 is not getting clarity and searching too soon. Another we talked about is emotionally hung up, and that gets us into being in analysis paralysis type of mode. Okay, we talked about how, when you're making that pivot, assess what's really the worst case scenario. Is it really truly that scary, right? So you should talk about how getting clarity before strategizing for your job search, how critical that is. That it's okay to press pause on the job search to find clarity before jumping onto tactical side of the marketing there. What else we talked about here is, okay. Then, so that was like segment 1 this morning. Okay, so that was a lot. Like the morning was all about the clarity, the mindset, about the leadership. And this afternoon was a lot about the marketing and networking, right? So it's a lot more tactical. So let's go through some of the key tips that we learned from our speakers today. So I started off with talking to Austin, which he had amazing tips as well. He talked about, for him, it's all about experimenting and testing things out. Fun to have like a hypothesis and see how it works. He talked a lot about systems. He's all about having systems and habits and process so that you can really get those consistent results there. The other thing is, his whole talk was how to land your dream job without applying online. And he said, really, when you think about it, hundreds of people apply for jobs online. You really only have that, less than 3% chance of getting an interview. And so the important lesson that he talked about is strategic networking, being very strategic of how you approach networking. And being very methodical as well by really understanding your target companies and your target roles and finding the right people, the right advocates, the right influencers who can really help you get your foot in the door. So that was so key there. Okay, then we moved into Jonathan on Javier, and I'm breaking into top companies coming from a non-target school or non-traditional background. And we really build on further on the importance of networking. He talked about how, he talked about lesson number 1, rejection is redirection, and to ask for help. Okay, so when you are looking to make that pivot, to make that change, it's okay to go ask for help, and that you want to be proactive and reaching out to people by building your personal brand. Right, this ties into the building your brand on LinkedIn as well. Finding people in your niche and go and comment on their post. And the big part that he talked about was really finding that common ground with people. Like, I don't know if you guys heard, like how many of you wear glasses here? You find that common ground that you could have this that icebreaker to build that, that trust factor there. So I love that, the simple things like he talked about unconventional methodologies and strategies that you can use to really stand out. One thing that stood out for me with Jonathan was he tracks his networking. connections. And he has a whole spreadsheet of the people that he meets, and that every month or quarter he would follow and check in with people. He also writes thank you cards as well to let them know that that he appreciates them. He talked about the value of just giving a shout out to someone on LinkedIn, or he challenged everyone, like even like today. You can write a post on LinkedIn to talk about your key lessons learned, or giving a shout out to the speakers to also help you essentially increase your visibility, because when you post it, it gets into the feed and other people's feed. And that's part of helping you build your brand there. So I really like that. There were some really great tactical tips that you can try out of what he shared. And then he wrapped it up with how failure never happens if you don't start doing. No rejection should be a fear, right? This talks about that you got to just try, right? Like, what's really the worst case here? Okay. And then we moved into Hannah. Hannah talked about it's time to do more to visually showcase your value, and how she talked about how, show a portfolio to showcase your work, right? To showcase your value and giving that proof, that helps with also building the credibility as well. If you're a writer, you can showcase your sample writing type work. And I see this a lot right now, as I am preparing interviews with my clients, like those who are in the content space, they need to show their portfolio, or those who are in like the product space, they need to do a case interview. So you want to be prepared for that as well. You can also feature some of your work, your assets of your creative work on like the LinkedIn feature section. Okay. So that's a great way of building your brand. Okay. The other thing we talked about is how the visuals or the infographic resume, it's a marketing tool, right? Essentially, it's like a funnel that you use it as like a lead magnet to attract, get people's attention so they want to learn more about you, right? So you still want to have your full resume, right? And that version, but you can also have some creative marketing materials. And I also talked about how thinking of it yourself as a product. If you had to create a marketing campaign, what would be those kind of visuals that you can create to attract people to learn more about you there? Okay, so that was a great lesson that we talked about. And there are a lot of great tools out there. Like my favorite one is Canva. All the graphics that you see here today was all created in Canva. It's pretty intuitive, very easy to use. That's where I get my graphics as well. Other tools she talked about was Pixababy, Fiverr, Upwork. Those are the tools that she recommended. You can also get a designer to help you with designing images there. Okay. And then we moved on to talking to Betty Kempa on building a 6-figure coaching business. And I love it. It's different from job search, but it's great for those who are looking to start a business. I saw a lot of people looking to start a business there. And she really talked about a few things that stood out for me. Is one is to really have a niche, right? Really knowing what your niche is, who's your target audience, who's your ideal client avatar. The second is to have your signature methodology, okay, to make you stand out. And this ties into your packaging as well, because that's how you're also going to raise your market value there. Okay, so those are the key lessons that we talked about. The other thing that she ended up and her advice was is that if you really have this desire to serve, to help people, go do it, right? Don't wait. Go do something. Whether it's taking a training course, go doing an informational interview, go start somewhere. Okay, and then lastly is with Anna that we all just wrapped up with. I love that we talked about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. I really encourage you guys to be more active. Like when I was a recruiter, pretty much I use LinkedIn all the time to find source talent. And it's just such a great way to build your network, to identify opportunities as well. And it's a great tool to really research there. So I really want to encourage you guys, if you have what I call a bare bones profile, start building your profile. Make it more marketable first, optimize it first. That's the first step. And then from there, you want to be active by commenting on people's posts, by reaching out to people. Like, start being active, and you're going to start seeing the results once you have this consistency. I have a client, Max Chan. Some of you may have heard of him. He started posting every single day since May, and he has now since at least I want to say quadruple now his connections, from like 600 people to at least 3,000 people now. And every day he's been consistent in building creating a post. And he first started off talking about careers on like resumes, like LinkedIn and branding. And then he really got more clear on what he wanted to talk about, which is really about personal branding on LinkedIn. And that's been his niche. And he's really built a brand for himself. And also through COVID, like he's actually started a side hustle where he also helps clients with doing some like career coaching work and resume writing work as well. So my point here is if you don't try it out, you'll never know what the potential is or what the possibilities are. Okay, you have to first experiment it and try it out, tweak your strategies, and see what the possibilities are there. Okay, so I hope you find this helpful. Does this resonate with you guys? Yeah, I noticed my energy is dipping now. Like it's been a full day for me, for me talking. So I'm also feeling I'm going to need a break soon. But thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy everything worked and turned out so well. Everything just in 3 weeks, from the first week of gathering speakers, week 2 to putting together marketing materials, and this week 3 was putting together all the logistics, the music, the slides, and everything. I'm so glad everything worked out, and I'm so grateful for the support from all the speakers and all the new coaches I've been meeting online and spreading the word, and even just like new friends that I've been meeting online there. So thank you for your support. I really wish you all the best. Really, one of my favorite sayings, some of you already know this, is you got to own your greatness with confidence and make a great impact in this world. So owning your greatness is really believing yourself, but really tapping into your natural gifts and talents. And when you own that, that's when you really show up for yourself and for the world, and that you can really, truly make an impact in this world. So I really hope you find this helpful, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning. I will be here live 9:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to kick the show off with my dear, dear friend, Seema Soda, on how to unleash your soul purpose for greater joy and impact. So I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye now.